Good to see you again. Hey, this is just some of the, this isn't all the slides, this is just some of them. Here you go. There you go. You're very welcome. Here you go.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Here you go.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Here you go. You're very welcome.
You'll get about 30 minutes or so. I'll give you the 5 minutes at 30 minutes, and that way you've got about 5-10 minutes there for questions before we break down the next person comes in.
Perfect. Yeah, I think two of them, one for her. So here you go. You're very welcome. Here you go. This is just some of the slides I'm handing out here, just because it makes it easier to see the stuff. Here you go. Sure. That's
We can share one.
all right. Here you go.
Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. Here you go.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, here you go. Sure, here you go. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, the first talk after lunch, there's going to be a handout. That way everybody stays awake.
There you go.
Is there a test, Nev?
Test.
Is there a test?
Oh, is there a test? No. I hate tests. If life was based on standardized testing, I'd be a...
A little bit. I already got them.
Oh,
No, I moved on you.
okay. Here you
Oh,
go.
you and Chris let me know. I wonder if you guys are sitting in the garage.
I'll be right down. Hey, what's up, Keenan? What's going on? There you go. Here you go. Sure. Here you go. You're welcome. Hello. You're very welcome. Hey. Handout. There you go. Thank you. You're very welcome. All right. One for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very thoughtful of you.
Thanks. I've done a couple presentations, and you stand up a spreadsheet on the screen. You're like, what the hell? I can't see that shit.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, this is the test. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, you sure can.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right. None for you.
All right, while the handouts are getting wrapped up, welcome to the afternoon sessions on Sunday for the business track. I hope everybody got lunch, got something to eat. Yes, I know the Starbucks was closed. I walked over and found that out too. Let's remember cell phones, keep them quiet. Hit that mute button or turn them off if that doesn't work. We don't want the video just to have a bunch of beeps and chings and WhatsApp sounds and stuff. Remember the code of conduct. Basically, be cool and kind to each other. Let's not be jerks. Closing remarks in the game show will start at 5. Don't forget about that in CBC 155. There are contests. If you can get a selfie and photo of a speaker, you can share that on Twitter with the hashtag WCMIA, which is in all uppercase letters. And with that, I'm going to introduce everybody here to Nev Harris. Nev, everybody Nev. Nev is a speaker and educator. He is passionate about translating, quote, stupid financial speak into plain English so freelancers and agency owners can understand it. I know I can speak for myself that is an amazingly valuable thing to have around. He calls it accountantese. It's overly complex language that is most often spoken by financial planners and accountants. Tell me I'm not the only one whose eyes just glaze over whenever the accountants start talking. So he could literally talk all day. And so with that, we'll turn it over to him, and we'll get started.
All right. Thank you for showing up after lunch here. I see a couple of you in here, people still filling in. Just so we're sure, this is not the hallway track. This is a boring talk about money after lunch. So, I wanted to say something real quickly here, a side story. I worked for a financial planning firm and an accounting firm and everything like that, and I wrote everything, and I came up with the strategy, and I did all the analysis for the clients and everything like that. And we'd go and meet with the clients, and my boss didn't really know anything. So we go and meet with the clients, and they would I'd have questions, and I'd try to answer their questions. They're like, no, I want to talk to Jim, not you. And I'm like, well, I wrote everything. And so, and then Jim would go and give them bad advice because he never read anything I wrote. And but they always said like I didn't have enough gray hair to actually be believable. So I appreciate the WordPress community because you'll come and listen to somebody that looks like 12 tell you about money. So I love you guys. All right, so let's get into understanding cash flow to make better decisions. I promise this will not be boring. It will not be super exciting, but it will not be boring because I cannot stand boring stuff. And you will walk away with two things, though. You will walk away with a system to better understand your cash flow so that you can make better decisions and have more insight into your business. The other thing I just threw in there was the biggest problem I see when I work with, if you're just coming in, you can grab the handout up there. The other thing you're going to learn is the biggest problem I see, the biggest mistake I see freelancers making and agency owners making with money and everything like that, and it's a 5-second fix. So I'm going to tell you that real quickly, and it's going to save you a world of hurt if you ever get into this problem. All right, so on that note, let's meet our cast of characters. We have Jenny. All right, Jenny is a rock star developer. She has a lot of great projects she's excited about. She really knows her stuff. She really digs into it. She'd be in the developer track all day geeking out, all right? So Jenny's about to go to bed, all right? And she's getting into bed, and then she remembers it's the 5th, all right? And she starts stressing out because Jenny has some payroll due on the 10th to some contractor she has, and then she has that Gravity Form subscription coming due. Then a couple days after that, Jenny has some just rent and all these other little bills coming due, and she's worried. Even though she's having a great month, she's worried if she's going to have enough money in her bank account or get enough money in to be able to pay these bills. So she's really stressed out. She can't get to sleep, and it affects her day the next day. So that's Jenny. So our next one is Jimmy. So Jimmy, he's sitting at his favorite coffee shop. He's hanging out. He's clicking away on his computer, designing some stuff. He's sipping his cafecito, pronounce that right? and then everybody in the coffee shop starts staring at Jimmy. And Jimmy's like, what? And then he looks down, and his computer, his MacBook is making this horrible sound. It sounds like it's about to die. And he's like, man, I need to upgrade my MacBook. And I want to get that new MacBook 16 and that just came out, and I want to get the discrete graphics card, and I want to get the RAM, and Apple, like they're going to charge you $500 for $60 worth of RAM. And so he doesn't know if he should buy it. He doesn't know if he's going to need the money in the future. So Jimmy thinks, maybe I should just buy the 13-inch MacBook, or maybe I should even buy the MacBook Air. But the MacBook Air, it's really not going to suit Jimmy's needs, okay? So, and he knows that, so he thinks he's like solving a problem that's just going to turn into a problem next year, so he doesn't know what to do, all right? So, and then let's meet our narrator for this. It's me. So, this is where I tell you a whole bunch of great things about myself, and you start checking Instagram because you don't really care. So, and because this is what you really do care about. Who the hell am I, and why should I listen to you? So, well, I'm Nev, and I'm the one up here on stage, so that's why you should listen to me. Next slide. And even though I didn't get a clicker, and it was always my dream to give a talk where I had a clicker and I could just click stuff. I haven't reached that level yet. But anyways, though, why should this do? I'm an agency owner, and this whole money kind of thing is what I do as more of a passion project. I love to get the message out. I feel very passionately and strongly that you can understand your money. The problem is it was just never clearly explained to you, okay? And so it's not your fault if you don't understand your money right now. And I want to get that message out. I have an MBA in finance. I'm a business person by trade. I got into this because I had a team of designers. I had some clients that wanted to build websites. And I was like, yeah, great. We have some free time. Sure, we'll build a website for you. Yeah, you've been down that route. That turned out disastrous. So, anyways, though, so I know where you are. I know your pain. I know where you come from, and I really understand the finance side of it. So, anyways, though, so let's get started. Okay. So, pull out the worksheet that I gave you. Not worksheet, but the printout. And if you didn't get a printout, they're up there in the garbage can. That doesn't mean they're garbage. That just means where I had to put them. So, all right, so here's what we're going to do. And you'll get all these templates, and you'll get the access to the full course. This is a full course. It's like a 75-minute course with all sorts of templates and access to ask me questions. I couldn't really do it in this talk. You're going to get that completely for free. And now let me be very clear with you. You're not entering a sales funnel, okay? You're marketers. You know that crap. You're actually getting what we sell at the end of the sales funnel. So you're getting what we sell at our end of our sales funnel. We're giving it to you for free because we really want to help you, okay? So what you do in this sheet is you're going to write down all your bills, okay? We have some worksheets that you'll do in there that make this easier. But we're going to write down all your monthly bills. You're going to write down all your monthly subscriptions, and then you're going to write down any miscellaneous stuff that just pops up every now and then, all right? And then you're going to get a total. And this is out of the scope of this talk, but this total is about, for this example, $15,000. And you could figure out what your profit should be based off that, and you can do all sorts of cool stuff with that, but we won't get into that. But that's just the nut you have to make every month. So, but the course goes much more into detail on this, how to get value out of this. And then that's the foundational work. What we're going to do next is we're going to create a simplified cash flow statement, because it's one of the 3 big financial statements that confuses the hell out of people because they're written in a language to confuse the hell out of people. And what you're going to take is we have date, we have what it is or who it's being paid to, coming in, so that's in green, going out in red, and then your balance. So let's take, for example, let's go back up to the business expense tracker. So let's take rent. So if you look at your sheets, and not the slide, because you can't see the slide because it's impossible to see from that distance, rent $1,200 on the first. And so you go to this, and where am I? You go to this right here, and you put in the date, the first, rent, and in the red column you put, what was it, $1,200 or something like that. And that's what you do for everything on that previous sheet that you have right there. All right? And then when you get that all done, this is what you have. You have everything done by the date, whether it's coming in or going out, and you have a balance to know how much you have. So in your bank account. So as you see, that turned green, the yellow turned green. I'm really big on visual stuff and just being able to see stuff with colors and everything like that. Not because I'm like a little kid, but because I like colors. So actually, when I got out of school in my MBA, I realized I got a job in finance. That's what I always wanted to do in my life, work with money. And then I figured out that I'm going to have to sit in this office for 10 hours a day and stare at spreadsheets. I said, no, this ain't going to happen. And so I went and got a job. Most of you probably like spreadsheets better than I do. So I want to color-code that I could get valuable insight into it within a couple seconds. So everything we're going to be doing is color-coded. So you see it goes yellow. It goes yellow, and you can set this in Google for it's just a threshold in Google Sheets with a right click. So it goes yellow when in this one it's like set for $1,000. If you don't write anything less than like a $5,000 check, you would want to make that over $5,000. If you're not even spending $1,000 on your average bill or something like that, maybe make it $500. $1,000 is a pretty good one, so you don't have to screw with that unless you really want to for some reason. And then from there, we have that right there. Then we changed one thing on here. What we did is instead of paying contractors $630, we made it $6,300. So obviously we didn't have the amount of money in our bank account, so we went negative. And when it goes red, it's very obvious that it's negative. So again, colors, you don't even have to look at the numbers. You just have to look at the colors to know if there's going to be problems. We're going to get more into what these colors mean in a little bit. So here we go. Red, yellow, and green. Anybody have any guess where I got red, yellow, and green from? So I don't like to put a lot of thought into things. So what we want to do is we want to draw this out for 90 days, okay? And so when we fill out what our expenses and our revenue is for 90 days, the money we have coming in for 90 days, this is how we use it. In the first 0 to 30 days, if we have red, we have a problem, okay? We are going to need to find some money. We are going to have to make some sales, collect some money from clients, you know, whatever we can, because we need to get some money coming in because we're going to run out of money. So I said we're going to have less stress over this. It will give you less stress because you'll know it's coming up and you can figure out a solution instead of just being blindsided. But if it's yellow, you don't have a problem, but say this is how Jimmy knows not to buy that laptop this month, because Jimmy sees that I don't have extra money to spend this month. So he's like, don't spend money if you see anything yellow 0 to 30 days. If it's green and we want everything to be green in 30 days, we're doing awesome. So we want to keep it that way. Green is good. So 31 to 60 days, okay? If it's red, don't spend any money, okay? Because you don't really have the money. You might run out of money in that month. If it's closer to 30, you might need to find money. If it's closer to 60, you know, hopefully you're going to get some new sales and some new sources of income coming in those 60 days. If it's yellow, just caution. You know, you should know how many sales that you have coming in on average and everything like that. You know, if you have some stuff in the pipeline, maybe you want to spend, maybe you don't. If it's green, you're doing really great. Keep going. So now click, you damn slide. Okay. So 61 plus days. Okay. So here's the thing. We all know pretty much what our expenses are going to be in the next 90 days almost. What we're much more uncertain with is the money we have coming in. So if it's red in 60 plus days, for most people it's a caution. For some people it's a caution. For other people, if you don't have a predictable selling system that you know that you're consistently getting in new leads and new business, cash flow is not your major concern. You need to work on business development, generating leads, and marketing and premium positioning and this kind of stuff. So it's again out of scope of this talk and out of scope of what I teach around. But that's what you should more be focused on than cash flow, because you have a problem getting in consistent revenue. So consistent leads, which could cause problems. Okay, so anyways, though, if it's yellow, no worries at all. You should see a lot of yellow 60 to 90 days. If you're all green at 60 plus days, I mean, you have an amazing business. Like, I want to learn from you then. So, all right. So this is the Nev version, the Nev Harris version of a cash flow statement. It's the exact same one that you saw before where it went yellow halfway through here. It's the exact same expenses, but this never goes yellow, and you actually end up with $10,000 in the bank with no more sales and no more expenses. Like, this isn't magic. This isn't me, like, creating numbers in spreadsheets. This is just how Nev, like, organizes stuff. And there's two things that we do here. One, we reach out to some people. We reach out to a lot of our vendors, and we say to them, okay, we know we have recurring revenue coming in, to say on the 1st, whenever you know you have revenue coming in. And then we say, instead of paying our rent on the 1st, we pay it on the 5th. We call our landlord and say, look, I'm going to start paying it on the 5th. You know, normally if you 5 days, they're not going to be that concerned about it, especially if you've been a tenant for a while. You start paying that on the 5th. You put your contractors and your payroll off to the 5th. You know, why is the 1st so sacrosanct? It's not, you know. Like, it's your business, set up at how it's going to function best for your business. In my agency, everybody gets paid once a month on the 20th, just because that's what works better for us. So with the cash flow we have coming in. So you can set that up. You have, and then, so you set all that up to come in on dates more flexible for you. And you could say, Nev, why don't I just do it on the 2nd? I have money coming in. Well, tell me you haven't been here. You know, you look at your bank account and all of a sudden you see, wow, why didn't that recurring revenue come in? Why didn't that payment go through? Why didn't that charge card go through? The expiration date expired. You have to call up the customer and get the expiration date. So that takes a day or two to get that done. We had a client that every 1 to 2 months went to Vegas, and when he came back, he canceled his card. So it was always no good. So it was, yeah, we got rid of that client. He was a pain in the neck. And one, he was going to go broke anyways. So where am I at? I am talking about, so we want to give ourselves flexibility and wiggle room, because I'm big on flexibility and wiggle room, because that gives us less stress if we don't have to, if there's not hard dates for stuff that's going to screw us. So we do it the 5th so we can sort out those problems. Because if we realize, hey, wait, that recurring revenue doesn't go in and I got bills paid in 4 days, we have a time to solve it. All right, and the other thing I'm going to do, and this might be controversial, but I'm going to explain to you why it's not. We take everything we can and we put it on a credit card. Now, can that ruin your life? Absolutely. Can that, if you do it wrong, but if you follow the full rules I'm going to explain to you later, it's going to provide you a lot more flexibility and you're going to be able to operate like a much bigger business does, like these Fortune 500 companies do, how they manage cash flow. I'm going to give you a hack, a trick to manage cash flow like they do. So, and what we want to do is we take everything, so it's the Water, our G Suite, our Zoom, our QuickBooks, our phone, our Adobe Creative Suite, our whatever else, insurance, electric. So anyways, we put this all on a credit card. And so instead of it coming out like a whole bunch of times throughout the month, it goes on a credit card, and then we could pay off that credit card every month in full. And we have us paying off the credit card on the 22nd, okay? Because we have recurring revenue coming in on the 15th. We have payroll going out on the 20th. Now, you could call up your credit card company and tell them, most credit cards, tell them, and if not, get a new credit card, that you, when you want your billing date to be and everything like that, so you can set this up to be most convenient to work best for your business. This is an example. It's set up your business the way it's best for you. So, why? What happens? So, so our recurring revenue comes in, okay? And then we want our payroll on the 20th because, pay twice a month. And so then we want our credit cards after that because we want to pay our people, because if we don't pay our people, they'll get pretty mad at us. And it's not a good thing to do. So, because they're the people helping with your clients too. So we want to pay our people, and then we want to pay our credit card bill. And I'm going to show you why. So, and then if you go out to lunch and everything like this, in this column right over here, you go out to lunch, you go to WORDCAMP, you do something, you put it on a credit card, you immediately that day write it in that column. And there is a reason for that. So the grace period for flexibility. So here's a billing cycle. We say our billing cycle is the 23rd of October to the 23rd of November. So it's the 23rd to the 23rd of the next month, okay? So that means our due date in this hypothetical situation is the 15th, okay? So we don't have to pay to the 15th, okay? So, so we want to pick the last day of our billing cycle that we pay our credit card. So we don't even wait to get the bill. We pay it on the last day of our billing cycle, okay? Because all we're putting on the credit card is money that we would have spent that month. We're not financing anything. We're just putting money that we would have spent already in cash that would come directly out of our bank account. We put it on our credit card, so it's in the bank account anyways. And so we pay it on the 23rd of the month. We have to the 15th to pay it. Now let me show you why this is so important. So let's go back up here. And like I said, our payroll is slightly, a credit card due, we pay it after our payroll and after our recurring revenue. Because what happens, so let's say that a whole bunch of that, let's say 4,000 of that recurring revenue doesn't come through, all right? If all that stuff was taken out earlier in the month, one at a time, you would get down to your payroll and not be able to make your payroll, okay? So, and then, because all that stuff was coming out. In this situation, you could still make your payroll, but you can't pay your credit card bill on the 22nd. Who cares? You have to the 15th. So you have 3 weeks now to figure out how to get the money to pay your credit card bill. And if you're doing this out for 90 days, you could say, hey, look, in 9 days, I'm going to be flush with cash. So, in 9 days, on the December 1st, you could pay then your credit card bill. And it's not even due to the 15th. But you've bought yourself some flexibility in there. Now, even though you're paying it on the 22nd because, you're going to pay all this stuff anyways, but now in that situation where that comes up, you've now bought yourself 3 weeks of time to figure it out, to just a little bit of wiggle room in there to pay this kind of stuff. So that is why we love the grace period. Because if you buy something on the 23rd, like your bank is pretty much giving you your credit card company is giving you a 45-day interest-free loan. So this is how big companies do it. They have a term called working capital. There's a $1 trillion market in why is there a one-day T-bill? It's because of this stuff. That's really confusing. We don't need to get into that. But that's what big companies do, and what a small company doesn't do, and how a small company gets in the end screwed over it. So should I have my bookkeeper and VA do all this stuff? Because you should have a VA, a bookkeeper, doing all the low-level admin kind of stuff, and this really, really fits that. This is the kind of crap that you don't want to do, that's not valuable, that's not adding value to clients. I'm going to say no, don't, at least for the first year. Because what we want to do in that first year is we want to get a hang of how money's flowing in and out of our business. We want to get a feel for it. So when Jenny's laying in bed, she's like, oh, I forgot to check my spreadsheet today. But you know, it's the 5th of the month, and I know I'm pretty good on that stuff. So she's not stressed about it. Or, you know, because 8 months into it, she has a feel for it. And here's the other reason. Here's the big reason. So and I'm going to get a little psychological on you guys, but if a company, like say you go to Dave & Buster's, or you're playing a video game or something like that, and Dave & Buster's gives you a card to put in a machine, that costs them money. They have to have somebody behind the desk and all this stuff. Why are they doing this? You can just put a credit card in, for crying out loud. Because they know, it's psychological, if they put one step in between your cash and the final product, you will buy more. So video games will sell you $100 worth of points to buy stuff in a video game, because you will buy more if you're spending points instead of dollars. And they don't say $100 for 100 points because it would be too easy to figure out how many dollars you're spending. So they always make it some crazy number so you can't do the easy math. And credit cards do the same thing. Why are credit cards big? Why do merchants accept credit cards a lot of times? Because you will spend more money on a credit card because you're just handing plastic. You're not seeing a big stack of cash go down. So how do we say, ha, I got you at your game? We go and we fill that form out every day. So now, when we fill that form out every day, all the money we're putting on our credit card, we see this big list of credit card bills with a total at the bottom. We realize how much money is going on a credit card, and we won't spend it. We break that psychological trick they're going to play on you. So, and that's the way that we could do that. So that's why it's really important that you fill that out every day and look how much money you're putting on that credit card, because then you're not going to put excess money on that credit card. So credit card versus debit. This is the 5-second fix. All right. So here's the story. I'm going to tell you a situation. So you're here in Miami, sitting here listening to this boring guy ramble on about money, and you get home, and then there's a charge on your credit card for the Fountain Blue, $7,800, bottle service, Cabana, and you're like, what the hell? I didn't do that, you know. So you go, you call up your credit card company, and you say, you're like, look, I was at Florida International University. I was not at the Fountain Blue. And they're like, sorry, we got this, you know, don't worry about it. You know, we're going to give you that $7,800 back. You don't have to pay it. We're going to look into it, you know, and if it's fraud, you're not responsible. It'll take us a couple months to look into it. You're like, oh, great, I don't have the money to pay that. Whew. And Nev said we never carry a balance. I mean, he'd be pissed. So, and then the other thing, and then we have a debit card, same situation with the debit card. So what does the debit card do, though? It takes the money directly out of our bank account. Even if it says Visa or something like that, it's taking the money directly out of your bank account, okay? Because that question, credit or debit, what do you do? And none of us thought it made a difference. Well, here's the same situation. Everything is on they steal your debit card information. You call up your bank, and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, ma'am, that's horrible. I feel so bad for you. Yeah, you know. We'll look into it, and look, if you're responsible, sometimes banks charge you $50, but a lot of times nothing. So if you're responsible, we're not going to charge you or anything. You're like, oh, thank you, man. I really appreciate that. But your bill is but you know your bank account's overdrawn, and you have all these your $2,000 overdrawn, and you have all these fees, and it's going to bounce check fees and all these fees that are going to continue and everything like that, and you're like, well, I don't have that money. I have to pay my employees. Their checks bounce and everything. They're like, it's not our problem, you know, because that money came right out of your bank account, not a credit card that you pay, and they won't give you that money back, okay? So until they prove it. With a credit card, they give it back to you immediately, so you have a lot more protection. You can see how that could spiral downhill. So anyways, credit cards are evil. I don't have a lot of time, so yes, but not if you use them right. And here's how you use them right. Like I said, if you don't have the money, you do not buy it, okay? You do not buy it. This isn't financing. This isn't free money. This isn't found money. You spend the money you have, okay? You don't carry a balance, ever. You pay it off. You always pay the balance in full, so you never have to pay any interest, and you be responsible. You have to realize, could I be responsible with credit? If the answer is no, we have an alternative method. If you really don't like credit cards, we have an alternative method for this kind of stuff that doesn't use a credit card, that you could still get a lot of the same stuff. I will tell you, we all have our limitations in life. I have ADD. I can't go on Facebook and Instagram or anything like that, because if I go on for one little thing, I will spend an hour on there and not even get that one little thing done. So, and that's my limitation in life, okay? I know I have to be very focused and conscious of my time. You have to be very focused and conscious of knowing that you can't use credit. So, again, no paying interest ever. So, if you pay interest, I'll be pissed. So, and I'm a big guy, you know, you don't want to piss me off. So, anyways, like I said, you can get this course for free. It's the full course. It's a free template. It's free access to me. Like WCMI Miami, it's good for 48 hours. If you use that with a phone, it's yours. It's completely free. This is not a sales funnel. This is everything we're providing for you, because I couldn't give the templates in here. I couldn't figure out how to do the whole course. I want you to get value from this. This isn't a sales pitch. So that's it.
All right, thank you, Nev. Fantastic. Tell me we don't have questions, right? Okay. Who's got a question?
Oh, I can answer questions on pricing, anything to do with money, not just cash flow. I love talking about pricing and all sorts of other crap that has to do with money.
What do you think about using PayPal and 6 months pay it off, those type of things for some of the things you need to purchase and so forth?
So, like, you're talking about how PayPal has that 6-month financing. So, was that interest-free financing? Yeah. So, yeah, but here's the thing. Here's the trick between that kind of stuff. They know if you don't have the money right now, you're probably not going to have the money in 6 months, and then you get hit with a whole bunch of back interest, like a lot of times. So, we have another free form on our website that you could grab. That's the shiny object versus needed tool, where it breaks down, it teaches the psychology behind, preventing yourself from buying emotionally versus buying rationally. So first I would say just figure out if you really, really, really need it, and then I'd figure out your plan for saving money every month to pay it off, to be sure you have the money in 6 months, because I'm telling you, it's staggering the percentage of people that end up not, 6 months, yeah, right. So.
Another one? Okay. This is how I get my after lunch workout.
I love how simple these spreadsheets are now. Relate this to the nightmare that is called QuickBooks.
So, yes, QuickBooks, I'm in a course, course I've come out, and I have actually free income statement training on that. It'll teach you how to understand what goes on in QuickBooks. A bookkeeper is not a bad thing, but they're not going to provide you a lot of value. You want to understand how to look at the numbers they prepare. I don't do my own QuickBooks. That stuff's a nightmare. It's low-level work that you could find somebody to do for you. But you need to understand that, QuickBooks is going to prepare you a financial statement that's designed for a Fortune 500 company. What I do is I break down all of the statements that they provide you and explain to you and show you a format to put them in. And then smarter people than me when it comes to developing could figure out how to get that information from QuickBooks into maybe the spreadsheet automatically. I teach you the stuff to take from QuickBooks and put it in these templates in our other trainings. Most of our trainings are free right now because I really, really, really just want to help people. I have 2 other businesses, so this is just more my passion project.
I think we've got one more.
Thanks. Can you talk about your recurring income? Because I don't know, but mine would be,
Yes. I could talk about
about
recurring
pricing.
revenue. Could be anything. What kind of business do you have?
Design, freelance.
It's designed, so WordPress?
Yeah,
And graphics and So what WordPress, the maintenance plans, hosting. So if you could do like hosting, like I see Convicio up here, he has a great program, managed hosting and everything like that. That when you get done designing a website for somebody, you sell them a care plan, and he'll take care, his company takes care of like magic. You don't need to know anything about it. That's how we make our recurring revenue, is we sell care plans to people. We use GoWP, that does all the technical stuff. They're gonna host our websites, and it's just, then you're making like maybe $50 a month per client, just profit, and you're outsourcing all. You're not responsible for any of it. And then, you get like 20 people of those at $50 profit, you've just created yourself, what's that? $1,000 a month, thank you. I'm the math guy. It's been a long weekend. so you just create yourself $1,000 a month in recurring revenue by doing that. And those people know and love you, so why don't they got to host their website somewhere. And I always tell my clients, hell, you can take this website anywhere, but if you take it to some crap hosting company, that's like taking your brand new car to a bad neighborhood and leaving the windows down and the doors unlocked. You're more than welcome to do it, but don't complain to me that your car gets vandalized.
Last one. Okay. One of the challenges that I always seen with people trying to do recurrent billing for that kind of services, for creating recurrent revenue, are the software that they need to use, because doing manually, it doesn't make sense. Do you recommend any software for monthly recurrent or for invoicing on the whole thing, or not? Or you don't have any?
So you're talking like so that automates your generation of your
Like invoice, auto generation, auto billing, stuff like that?
Yeah, Stripe. Yeah. Anybody, any suggestions in here? Let's crowdsource this answer. What's that? What's that? Okay, Wave app, yeah. So you're talking about something that's going to automatically create an invoice and send it out and everything like that. I don't know. I would be very fresh.
I'm actually a financial planner.
I love financial planners.
Yeah, right. Stripe will do it. This lady said Wave apps.
No, I know. We have one. It's called, we use one called Avasa, which is, I don't know, I think it's a Israeli company or something. And they do the automatic invoicing and all that. And you can use also Square, because the Square one is really good, but the Avasa one hookups with Jira and all our project management tools and makes a whole thing. But I was curious if you have, I don't know, something that you like.
I see. I don't just like I have my operations person do all that kind of stuff, so I'm not involved in that level of tactical. But that's good stuff. But let me just say, just real super quickly, my purpose of doing this kind of stuff is not to replace the financial planner. It's not to replace the accountant. It's to make it that you could have a better conversation with your accountant. That when you understand what you need to go to your accountant to ask about, then things are better. But I got to get off the stage.
All right, thank you. Nev, let's hear it for him. I'm sure if there are any more questions or anything, folks can find you.
What's that?
If there are any more questions or
Oh,
things,
yeah,
folks
yeah.
can maybe find you, have a conversation.
Yeah, here you go. Here's my information.
Yep, there's the
Yes, sir.
information.
Oh, no, that's
Don't
the cash flow
forget
side of it.
mytalk.rocks.
Yeah,
Get some
I'll-
feedback there on that, and we'll see you on the next one.
In our Facebook group, we answer any questions. You could get direct access to me.
Testing. Can you hear me? Coming through loud and clear.
Basically about 30 minutes. I'll give you the 5-minute warning, and then that'll leave time for 3-4 questions. You know, 1-2 questions.
You got a bio for me? You gonna read a thing? You gonna read a thing about me? Yeah? All right. We good to go?
All right, everybody ready? Cool. So we talked about cash flow in the last one. Now we're talking about growth. With cash flow comes growth. This is an awesome thing. So with growth, sometimes there are some growing pains. And here to talk to us about that today is JESSI GURR. Tell me if I say anything's wrong. Jessie's been hand-coding websites since the day her dad brought home an AOL floppy in 1993. Who remembers those? Yeah, all right. She started a website development company in 2005, and today runs a website agency in Minnesota. She's a passionate entrepreneur. She loves creating jobs, speaking about her experience growing a company, and sharing her experiences with freelancers and aspiring entrepreneurs. You'll find her usually in the management and business topics at local events and conferences. And with that, Jessie, take us away.
Thank you, Pat. So yeah, my name's Jessie. I live in Minnesota. There's 6 inches of snow up there right now. It's about 24 degrees today, so this weather here is amazing. Super glad to be in Miami for the weekend. And I am a very passionate entrepreneur. I like to share my story. I like to talk about my experiences. There is no way that I can get through my entire experience with growing a business in 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes. So I picked out a few things, the biggest sticking points for me that have been part of my business growth journey. I want to share them with you today. I am going to be available for the rest of the conference, probably out in the hallway, or you can maybe find me at the Happiness Bar later if you want to talk in more detail. I love to share. I love to get into your details and your business growth plans. So with that, I'm going to start with a little bit of a story. Imagine you're embarking on a road trip across the country. You've got your car, you're sailing down the freeway, you're 20 miles from the closest town, in a desert, maybe in the mountains. You think things are going pretty well. You've got your music playing, cruise controls on, windows open, air blowing through your hair, and bam! You got a flat tire. So you pop open the trunk, and you forgot the spare. Doesn't really matter, though, because your rim is so busted up that a spare tire wouldn't get you too far. So who do you call? 20 miles from the middle of nowhere. AAA. If you are a smart car owner, you took out a travel insurance policy before you started on your road journey across the United States. If you are a smart business owner, before you embark on a business growth journey, you'll take out your own AAA policy. This is what I call the AAA business policy. Pretty simple. Consists of an attorney, an accountant, and an agent, preferably one that deals with insurance. I take a real pragmatic approach to business growth. A lot of it's really fun. It's not all pretty. It's not all roses. I guarantee you, if you're going to embark on a business growth journey, if you're a freelancer, how many of you are freelancers? How many of you own an agency? How many of you are growing your agency? How many of you have all three of these people on your speed dial? Okay, so put your AAA business insurance policy in place before you grow, because I guarantee you, as you grow, through every single step of the process, you are going to need one of these people. And I'm going to talk a little bit about them and pull them into this conversation as we talk about some of the growing pains. I also want to mention before we get started, if you are growing a business, if you're forming an agency, if you're working with multiple employees, I recommend this book, Traction, by Gino Wickman. It outlines an entrepreneurial operating system. I implemented this in my business a year ago. It has made phenomenal changes. A lot of the things that I'm going to talk about today, a lot of the experience that I have from business growth came out of this book. I'm super passionate about this. This talk is not about Traction, but if you're interested and want to talk to me later, I love this method for running a business. So you've got your AAA insurance policy in place. Are you ready? Are we going to grow? Yeah, let's do this. All right, so business. So when I decided to grow, things were going really well. I was a freelancer, and I was making a pretty decent living just by myself. The reason I decided to grow was burnout. I was kind of done running a business by myself. I wanted to pull in some more people to help. Thought things were going pretty good. I learned really quickly that business growth is expensive. Very expensive. Employees, they want paychecks. They might need computers. At some point in your business growth journey, you are going to need access to more money than is in your checking account. I can guarantee it. If you were here for Nev's cash flow talk, I'm really glad that you were before me. It gets the roll spinning. Think about your finances. And so one of the things that I want to touch on is managing your cash flow. Life happens. Business happens. If you're hiring employees, if you're hiring contractors, if you use software, if you have computers, at some point, you're going to need to find money. So there are a few different ways that you can do this. Earlier today, David talked on creating recurring revenue streams through maintenance plans. Recurring revenue is great. Right now, my agency takes in about 30% of its monthly operating expenses just in recurring revenue through maintenance plans, subscription plans, and the like. This is fun, but let's say you have a business that costs $50,000 a month to keep the doors open. This is electricity, rent, payroll. Let's say that you are pretty good at sales and you can close $1,000 a week in recurring revenue. It's going to take you an entire year to build up enough recurring revenue to sustain your business for 1 month at $1,000 a week, 52 weeks a year. This is assuming after 1 year, your business still just costs $50,000 to keep open. So recurring revenue is great, but it's only part of the puzzle. You're going to need to find other ways to generate cash flow that isn't just from ongoing subscriptions. At some point, you're going to need to find access to money. So again, I don't like to sugarcoat things in business, but a really good question to ask yourself, before you start thinking about ways to get money is, what is your risk tolerance? The first 2 years in my business growth journey, I took on a significant amount of debt. I can stand here today and tell you that in 2016, my tax return started with a negative sign. Growing a business is not for the faint of heart. So think about what is your tolerance for risk? How much debt are you comfortable taking on? Are you willing to go a full year without collecting a paycheck? 2 years? I can't answer these questions for you, but use your gut. Risk tolerance is up to you. How you go about finding access to funds is really going to pull on how comfortable you are. And I'm going to talk about 3 different ways that you can bring money into your business. The first, credit cards. This is the easiest, quickest way to find access to cash. This was one of my biggest business mistakes and one of my biggest growing pains. It's super easy to get a credit card with a $40,000 limit. Most of you can probably do that, especially if you've been freelancing for 3 years and you've been, rolling high and you're out of debt. What Nev said, great advice on managing your cash flow. Line it all up. If you do take on credit cards, I love the rewards cards. Cost me $11.40 to come here with my Delta Miles card. Not too bad. So it's a great tool to have in your back pocket. If you have recurring subscriptions, put them on your business credit card, earn some rewards, reap those benefits. But credit cards aren't a long-term solution to finding cash for your business growth. You can't pay your employees with your credit card. Business loans and lines of credit. What I wish I knew 5 years ago before I started actively growing a business is that when things are really well and you're pulling in a lot of money, even as a solopreneur, it is easier to get a loan or a business line of credit than when you have a negative number on your tax return. I spent last year 3 months. I talked with at least a dozen bankers, and I got the kick out the door more times than I wanted. A business coach told me partway into this, keep asking, keep looking around, you'll find the right banker. Business loans are a great way to get lower interest cash flow than your credit cards, but what I would recommend to all of you, especially if you have the means, find a banker, find a bank that you like to work with, and see what it takes to take out a line of credit. You don't have to use that line of credit. A line of credit is going to roll you between 6 and 9% interest, where a credit card is going to be, 15 to 23, depending on the card. Even if you don't use your line of credit, it's going to be easier for you now to take that out. And if you have a solid record with a line of credit for 3, 4, 5 years, when you need more money, your banker, seeing as you're a responsible line of credit owner, is going to increase that limit, allowing you to grow. Another way to get access to funds is to partner with someone. Maybe you've got a developer friend who, sitting on a nest egg, wants to go into business with you. Maybe you're looking at investors. Taking on money from somebody else who's more comfortable with risk than you can be one way to get access to funds. Another way, if your business has been going well for a while, you could talk with your employees. I had last year 2 of my employees approach me with interest in buying into the business. So think about what that looks like for you. Think about your long-term vision. Using someone else's money to grow can take a little bit of risk off of your plate, but it's still taking on a risk. If you enter into a partnership, if you go on an investor's money, you're giving up a percentage of your business. How comfortable are you giving someone else a 40% share in your business? Think about what that has for long-term benefits. I can't answer these questions for you, but these are just kind of thinking points. Assess your risk tolerance before you grow. And have a plan in place, have a cash flow plan in place, and think towards the future. How much is your business going to cost you today with your business growth plans? How much is it going to cost you in a week, or in a month, in a year, 2 years, 3 years? And don't forget to pull your accountant and your attorney into your cash flow decisions. Your accountant will have some great advice, probably be able to steer you in the right direction towards a bank that can help you out, and manage your business debt, and help you keep your personal finances and your business finances separate, so that as you continue to grow, you're not putting the risk on yourself and your business. Of course, one of the easier ways to deal with cash flow is to just raise your prices. And 100% of the time, if you're growing a business, you're going to need to raise your prices as soon as you embark on that journey. How much? That's up to you, but freelancers and agencies are very different animals. Breaking it down into numbers, let's say you're charging about $5,000 for a website project and you can sell maybe 4 projects a month. A simple 20% increase in your bottom prices, $6,000 instead of $5,000. Anybody who's willing to pay $5,000 for a website is going to pay $6,000 for a website, especially if you're an agency and you can back up that pricing. 20% increase, not a lot. It's going to give you an extra $4,000 a month. What can you do with that? I don't know, maybe help pay some of your employees, maybe buy a new computer, maybe manage your software licenses. When I started hiring employees, I doubled prices overnight. 3 years later, we doubled them again. Position yourself in the industry as an expert, and you'll get good customers who respect your pricing, which is the next point. Wi-Fi? Oh. Where are we? Hang on. Right. Customers, scope creep. All right, view. It's the image. All right. Let's go to this one. View. Yeah. That's all right. I'm going to continue without the visuals. Yeah. All right, let's see. Don't necessarily want y'all to see all my notes. But, it's all right, y'all can see my notes. All right, so dealing with bad customers, raising prices, scope creep. Nathan Ingram talks a lot about this, and today he had a great chat about dealing with content and bad customers. The best way to combat bad customers, customers that aren't a great fit for your business, is to raise your prices. Learn how to say no to projects that don't fit. If you can qualify your customers, if you can bring in the right type of customers, you're going to have customers that respect your business. I have found in business that the price that a customer pays is directly related to how good of a customer that they are. Learn how to say no and put your processes in place. I can't stress how important it is for you guys to have great processes. If you have a project expectation sheet for your customer when they sign on, a process that you follow through, your customers will learn to respect that. If you hold to it, you'll have better customers in the long run. All right, so we've talked about your AAA insurance policy, attorney, accountant, agent, cash flow, your tolerance for risk, recurring revenue, credit cards, business loans, raising your prices, and bad customers. What are we leaving out? Employees. You're not going to get any employees, are you? This is, I will tell you a little bit about my experience growing a team. So in 2005, things were going pretty well, and I decided I was going to expand my business, hire help, and so I had a great vision for how my business was going to shape up. I hired an assistant. She answered the phone. It was great. I hired 2, not 1, but 2 sales guys, and they hustled. They brought in so many projects that I hired a new developer, and then another developer. And my assistant, she loved her job so much that she became a developer. So I had to hire a new CSR to answer the phones. And then we brought on a designer, a project manager. One of our developers became project manager. We lost a developer. I took on a content writer somewhere in there. And things were great. I had 8 employees. All reporting directly to me. the most junior member of our team was reporting directly to the CEO of our company for every little thing. Hey, the customer has a question about their call to action. Jessie, can you help me? Hey, customer doesn't like the colors on their website. Jessie, can you help me? I took my team to California and to a WordCamp, Orange County. And I spent one day, after hearing it from 8 people over and over and over, I left my team, I sat on the beach for 4 hours, I cried. I wondered what life would look like if I folded the business. I wondered if I could walk back into that WordCamp and get a job with any one of the people sitting at sponsor tables. And I probably could. 8 people reporting directly to me. I overlooked this. This is so simple, easy business growth stuff. Organization chart. If I overlooked it, chances are someone else has. I know a lot of agencies that are operating on this flat or this cyclical business growth model, and it's really stressful. And so I went ahead and did it. I implemented this organization chart after reading Gino Wickman's book, Traction. What I want to point out about this, so I've got myself up here at the top as the visionary, the CEO of the company. Currently, I'm also operating as the COO. But I promoted 3 members of my staff to VP Finance to help handle cash flow, to help handle bills, to help handle customer billing questions. Lead developer, I made her COO to answer all questions about operations. There's a problem with content, talk to the COO. There's a problem with colors, talk to COO. And then sales, head of sales and marketing. I gave him the power to create his own proposals. I gave him the power to make decisions on pricings for our clients, so I didn't have to be the final decision maker on everything. I empowered people in my company to handle things for me. Now, implementing something as radical as an organization chart in a business that has had a flat organization structure for so many years isn't always going to sit well with everybody. We lost 4 people in 4 months after I did this. 4 people in 4 months, which leads right into my next topic on employees, hiring, firing, and employees leaving. And I'm going to start with quitting employees. Because what I've learned through the employee process, I have taken the most out of the employees who have left. 4 employees in 4 months. Back to sitting on the beach crying. I was sure our business was over. We have lost so many people. The average employee costs small businesses anywhere from $15,000 to $40,000 to replace. Now, I don't care how in tune your hiring processes are. I don't care how well your onboarding process is. I don't care how documented your jobs are. If you can bring someone into your business tomorrow and hand them a sheet and say, go, with no other work, good for you, but that is not real life. When you lose an employee, you have to hire. You have to screen applicants. You have to onboard them. You can have the most well-oiled machine with processes, and you're still sinking a ton of your time, your employees' time, and payroll costs into this business growth. Easy to hit that $40,000. So why are employees leaving? Most likely because they weren't in the right seat or they weren't the right fit for your company. I handled this really poorly. I didn't talk about employees leaving. I got super bitter about it. I went back to the beach. And it took me 5 months before I realized that employees quitting was a good thing. On month 5, morale improved. We brought in new people who weren't there for previous bad attitudes, yes. And we had new people bringing new ideas to the table. We found people who loved what they were doing, which leads right into firing. All right, so employees quitting. You can embrace that, not the right person. There will come a time in your business when you hire someone who is not the right fit for your company. We have hired people before who we thought would make great developers, and it turned out that what they really wanted to be were designers. We hired a content writer who we thought would do a great job at content writing, but she wanted to do SEO. One of the most expensive mistakes that I made in business was hiring the wrong person for a website developer job. And 4 months into his employment, I remember the day I walked into my attorney's office, sweating, and I said, I have a person I have to let go. I don't know what to do. Before you hire, talk to your attorney, talk to your accountant, talk to your insurance agent. I have 2 pieces of advice when it comes to the hiring process. The firing process. The first one is don't wait. Don't wait until it's too late. There's a 36-hour rule that Gino Wickman introduces. That is, if something is not sitting right in your business, don't put it off. Fix it in 36 hours. If you have an employee that you think isn't working out, put them on a improvement plan within 36 hours. Don't delay it. Every day that you wait to make a decision, even if it's a tough decision, is going to cost your business that day's payroll and your stress levels. If the employee isn't the right fit, if they're not in the right seat, if they don't like their job, they're going to self-select out, and that will save you in the long run. Otherwise, rip the Band-Aid off and talk to your attorney and button up your documentation when it comes to severance packages and letting people go. Make sure you know before you hire people what it looks like in your company to fire people. As much as I'd love to tell you all that you're going to hire people that are going to work out for the rest of your business growth venture, chances are at some point you're going to have to make that hard decision. The hiring process. Now this is the fun part, and this is why I'm in business. My passion is creating jobs. I walk into my office every day. We are super unique. We have 8 people who come to work and all sit down in the same room. And it just brings a smile to my face every time I see Carrie working, and I know that she's got 2 kids and a husband. I see Marianne. I know that she just moved into a new apartment and just got married. It's so cool to give people opportunities and give people new jobs. But just like firing, you need to make sure that you have contracts in place for your new hires. Having contracts in place, your terms of service agreement for your customers, your processes for your customers are super important, but even more important are having processes and contracts in place for the people who are directly working with your business. Make sure that you have an onboarding policy documented. Make sure that if you're hiring W-2 or 1099, it doesn't matter. Make sure that you have some sort of a contract in place for your employees to sign that defines your working relationship with them. Talk to your attorney. Talk to your accountant. Make sure you can afford to hire. And hire based on 2 things. First of all, make sure that the people that you hire are in line with your values. If you have a vision for how you want your business to grow, if you have your own personal values, if you have company values, and you're interviewing people who just don't line up with them, it doesn't matter how great of a developer they are. If they aren't on board with your value structure and your mission, they are not going to work out. It's going to end in some fashion or another. And make sure when you hire that people are in the right seat. I've made this mistake too many times where we hired a content writer who wanted to do SEO, where we hired a designer who wanted to be a developer, where we hired a CSR who wanted to be a developer. Constantly meet with your employees, ask what their vision is, ask what they want to be. What do you want to be doing in 3 years? What do you want to be doing in 5 years? Maybe you seem like a great person to work for us, but if I'm hiring for someone to answer the phone and you're interviewing with my web design agency because you want to be a designer and I don't think that role's ever going to open, you're not the right fit. Employees are going to be happy when they're placed in the right seat. Embrace it. Embrace employee turnover. Be in tune with how your employees feel. Talk to your employees. Make sure they're in the right seat. Employees leaving, firing employees doesn't have to be terrible. It can be an opportunity for growth, an opportunity for change, an opportunity to bring in new viewpoints, new ideas, new morale, better culture. Don't grow by yourself. Another mistake that I made before incorporating our leadership team. I was trying to do everything myself. I had my own vision for growth. I had my own 5-year plan. I had my own 10-year goals, and I didn't bring anybody in to help. I formed a leadership team. Our lead developer, our lead sales, and our project manager and I, we meet weekly, and we talk about the growth plans. We talk about our values. We start every single meeting off with our core values, and we ask with every business decision that we make, is this decision right for the company? Is this decision moving us towards our goals? Bringing other people into your vision and helping other people and empowering other people to help lead your business is going to take a lot off of your plate, of your workload. It's also going to reduce your stress level. It's going to help you and your company grow. There are a lot of other ways that you can get support from the community. Right here, this WordCamp, there are business owners, agency owners, freelancers, everybody here, we all share the same problems. We've all had the same experiences. We all have the same customers. Don't grow alone. Talk. Find colleagues. Find other business owners. Join a mastermind group. I've been part of 3 different masterminds in the last few years. They're phenomenal for bouncing ideas off of other people. They help you work through and solve your business problems. And the most important thing, business growth is tough. There's a lot of struggles to get through, but it's not all bad. You're gonna have some good times. You're gonna close a $10,000 deal, and that's going to be amazing. You're going to write paychecks and have the money in the bank to do that. Celebrate your wins, no matter how small they are. Celebrate with your team. Every day, come up with something great. End the day with, guess what, you guys? Today, we launched a website. Or guess what, today we got approval on content. Guess what, today we finalized the logo. We shipped this. Guess what? Today, Kyle learned a new piece of JavaScript that he'd never worked on before. Celebrate every little thing, no matter how minute, and it will help your business growth journey continue. All right. Thank you.
Fantastic. Who has questions?
All
Bring
the
them
questions.
on. Okay, Nev, you're up.
I just got a comment. I want to marry that presentation. I will watch that again and again and again and be sure my team watches that. That was just amazing.
Thank you.
Talk about celebrating a win.
That's a win to celebrate.
Thank you.
I'm curious about your team distribution. How many local versus remote, if there are any?
Yeah, so we have 8 full-time employees
can you
working in. Oh,
say the question
sorry
again?
for the video. The question was, what does our team distribution look like? We are an agency. We have 8 employees working full-time in an office. It's a big open office, about the size of this room, except for it's skinnier and longer. It's not a cube farm. It's very loud. We hired our first remote employee last May, and it is rocky. Now, I don't know if this is because we weren't ready for growth remotely, or because we maybe made not the greatest hire remote, or we didn't screen well enough. But we are currently working on expanding into the remote space simply because I don't want to buy more offices. And if you saw my organization chart, it had 22 spaces on it. We've only got 8 of those people filled right now, and people are performing multiple roles. But we set that up for future business growth, and so we do have plans to grow, likely remotely. Yep.
Cool. Who's next? Any other questions?
No other questions.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to work off of this.
I have found a bunch of mastermind groups through WordPress. The first mastermind, so the question was, where do you find mastermind groups? The first mastermind group I joined, I met a person at WordCamp Orange County who just offhandedly mentioned that he was in a mastermind group. I asked about it. There is a Business of WP Slack group that is just full of people like all of you, people who work in business. And actually, Tara Clays over there is, she and Renee Morozowicz posted that they were opening up for a mastermind. And so I am in a first quarter 2020 mastermind with her and 4 other people. Local communities. Yeah, if you search, just do a Google search. There are There are some websites that specifically tailor towards creating masterminds. Meetups are great, yep, or you can form your own. Yeah. Yeah. You don't need a bunch of experts. You don't need a formal curriculum to do a mastermind. The point of a mastermind group is to get people together who care about each other and about each other's business growth and talk about issues. Yeah, and you can do it agency owners, or you could just get general business owners, or you could just get entrepreneurs. There's no rules when it comes to masterminding. Mm-hmm.
We've got time for like one, maybe two more. Anybody? All right.
This is just a fangirl thing. I was going to marry your presentation. So, are we going to be able to get this?
Yes, slides are available at jessygurr.com/WCMIA. Right there, yes. Yeah.
And don't forget to leave that comment in my talk about rock. So.
Oh boy, I'm getting proposals over here. No, The penguins are much cuter, I know. They're amazing. There are 17 different types of penguins, and I have a thing for branding, and so, yeah.
So perfectly branded.
Awesome. All right, well, Jessie, thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody, give a hand for Jessie on
Thank
this
you.
one. Fantastic. We are taking a slightly longer break before the next one starts. There is ice cream somewhere out there, so if you're up for ice cream, yeah, I've seen pictures, so it's real.
Hello. Wow. Woo! So this is just gonna be 2 minutes of intro with me with a microphone. Like I've never had one before. Hey. No. Anyway, welcome back to the Sunday Business Track. I hope you guys have had a fantastic morning with all of the amazing speakers that we've brought in from all over the country and actually international. We have international speakers with us. Our next speaker is a privacy attorney. Now, amongst attorneys, if you graduate from law school and you pass the bar, that's pretty, impressive in general. But our next attorney moved from another country, learned English, graduated law school at 21, and passed the bar. So when Miami brings you attorneys, we bring you the best and the brightest. Donata is the CEO of Termageddon. You may have heard of them, privacy policy terms of use generators, and she's here to talk to us about privacy today. I myself cannot be any more excited. If you guys could also join me in a round of applause thanking her for coming from Chicago to talk to us.
I'll take this one. Thank you, Ryan. Always fun to be around you, and always fun to have some nerdy privacy talks with another privacy attorney, but I'll try to make this the least amount of technical that I can. But thank you, everyone, for coming to the 3 things all web professionals need to know about privacy. I know it's Sunday at 3 p.m., so I know it's kind of hard to stay this late, so I very much appreciate the fact that you did that. My goal today is to talk to you about 3 things. So, which websites need a privacy policy, why privacy policies are important, and why you should be the ones to talk to your clients about privacy. Before I start on all of that, I would love to tell you why I am at least mostly qualified to talk to you about this topic. A little bit about me. I'm a data privacy and technology attorney. I'm also a certified information privacy professional. And I'm the president of Termageddon, a software that has generated thousands of privacy policies. I'm the one who keeps track of all of the privacy laws, and I push updates to our clients' policies whenever the laws change. And I'm also the chair of the International Association of Privacy Professionals, Chicago chapter, and the newsletter editor of the e-privacy committee of the American Bar Association. A little bit unrelated to privacy, but any beekeeper will tell you I'm also a beekeeper. So that's fun. So let's start with part 1. What websites need to have a privacy policy? Now, a lot of people think that only websites that sell personal information or only websites that are e-commerce need to have a privacy policy. And really, that's just not true. So we're first going to see which of your websites and which of your clients' websites need one. I promise that I'm going to keep the technical talk at a minimum, but I do need to have one definition in here, and that is personally identifiable information, or PII. PII is any data that could potentially be used to identify someone. So examples of PII would be names, emails, phone numbers, or physical addresses. So I'm sure when you build a website with a contact form or a newsletter sign-up form, and those forms collect PII. And really, any website that has a contact form collects PII. And any website that collects PII needs to have a privacy policy. So if you really don't remember anything else from this talk, I would hope that you remember this, is that when you build a contact form or when you build a newsletter sign-up form, that's when the alarm bells should go off in your head saying, okay, this website's collecting PII. All right, so why does PII collection and privacy matter, right? Why does it matter that this website's collecting PII? What does that mean? What are the requirements for websites that collect PII? So privacy laws regulate the collection and use of PII. Different countries and different states have privacy laws. And you'll see soon enough that more and more states are getting involved in this. A lot of consumers have put on the pressure on legislature to govern the collection, use, and disclosure of PII. I'm not sure if anyone remembers the whole Cambridge Analytica thing, which is pretty much everyone here. But you will see if you read any of these laws, which hopefully you don't have to, but you will see that, you know, the laws will actually cite the Cambridge Analytica scandal as the reason for all of this. So thank you, Mark Zuckerberg. Privacy laws require websites to disclose certain things. So what PII is collected, what is done with that PII, and who that PII is shared with. Now, to be clear, privacy laws require you to disclose a lot more than just this, but these are kind of the main things that are required to be disclosed. Now, the required disclosures are made in the privacy policy. So all of that stuff at the bottom of a website that says privacy policy that nobody reads, you know, that stuff is what's required to have by law now. So there are a few laws in the United States and the European Union that govern the collection, use, and disclosure of PII. The first law is the European Union General Data Protection Regulation. So I'm sure everybody's seen that. You know, companies have been freaking out about it and fined over it since 2015. We also have the California Online Privacy Protection Act of 2003, the California Consumer Privacy Act, which went into effect January 1st of this year, and Nevada Revised Statutes Chapter 603A and SB 220. So this law was amended earlier last year. Now, these laws are created to protect the personal information of residents of those states and countries. Now, this means that the laws don't really care about where your business is located and can apply to businesses outside of those states. So, for example, let's take CalOPA. CalOPA will apply to any website that collects the personal information of California residents. Now, I own a business in Illinois. If my website could be collecting the personal information of California residents, I need to have a CalOPA specific privacy policy. Same thing with Nevada, or not the same thing, but very similar. If you enter into a transaction with a Nevada consumer, your privacy policy needs to comply with that law. Now, what that means is, you know, companies that have transactions with consumers outside of their state, or companies that have websites that are used by people outside of those states as well, need to make sure that they're tracking these laws, that their privacy policies are compliant with those laws, and they also need to make sure that they have a strategy to keep these policies up to date. Now, what do I mean by keeping these policies up to date? Because of very intense pressure from consumers, more and more states are proposing their own privacy bills. And we have this tracker on our website, on our blog, so you can see whenever I update it, which is roughly once a week now, which is fun, for somebody who doesn't necessarily know how to use WordPress. But, you know, you see all of these states are proposing their own privacy bills. So, for example, Washington's bill just passed their Senate and is now in their House for consideration. So that's the next one that's going to come around. And each of these bills have very specific requirements as to what your privacy policy needs to disclose. So, for example, for California, we have to say how the website responds to do not track signals. For Nevada, we've had to say whether or not the website sells data and how Nevada consumers can opt out of that data. So each of these bills would have very specific changes to a privacy policy that a website needs to disclose. And as you can see, some of these bills also don't have a business size limit. So what that means is that the law would apply to small businesses, regardless of the size and regardless of where that business is located. So, for example, New York is proposing a privacy bill that would allow their consumers to sue businesses anywhere in the United States for having a contact form without a compliant privacy policy, which for small businesses, that can be really scary. And what happens with these bills, too, is that they provide certain rights to consumers, which, as a consumer, personally, I think that's a good idea. As a business owner, it's a lot, especially if you're running a small business. And we're having technical problems. This happens to me every time. Yeah, okay. So under these bills, consumers would have certain rights. So for example, the right to access their data. So I could ask a business owner, hey, can I see all of the data that you have on me? I would also have the right to ask to delete data or the right to correct it. So if you have my name as Donna and not Donata, I could say, please go into your system and change it to the correct name. Most of these bills prohibit discrimination as well. So if a consumer exercises their privacy rights, you cannot tell them, oh, you exercised your privacy rights, I'm going to charge you more now because you exercised those rights. So there are a lot of impacts on a business that could be happening just because of these privacy bills. One of the main impacts that we see so far is the updates to the privacy policy and disclosures that need to be made. So I know that you can't see my slides, but you might be thinking, all right, there's nice. Okay, good. You might be thinking, okay, there's privacy laws that could apply to me, but do I really need to, right? The issue with these privacy laws is that they impose very heavy fines for noncompliance. So fines can range from $2,500 per violation to 20 million euros in the EU. Now, per violation does not mean per day that you didn't have a privacy policy or, I didn't have a privacy policy at all, so I just get one fine. No, that would actually mean per website visitor. So I'm sure you could see how even a small website that has 100 visitors per month, those fines can really add up. In terms of who enforces these privacy laws, it really depends on what the law is. In Europe, we see data protection authorities of each country enforce these laws, and we have seen fines being imposed on large businesses such as Google and Facebook, but we've also seen fines being imposed on very small businesses. So for example, very recently, a company was fined 60,000 euros for changing a customer's email in their database without that customer's consent. So we've seen enforcement with small companies as well. In terms of the United States, it really depends on what the bill says. It can be enforced either by that state's attorney general, by the Federal Trade Commission, or even potentially by consumers. So some of the proposed bills would allow consumers to sue businesses directly. And I'm sure if you have spent more than 10 minutes in this country, you know what that means. That means a lot of lawsuits. And we've seen that with accessibility on websites, and privacy is kind of the next thing that we're going to see that with. And there are actually a lot of interviews with states' attorneys general that are saying, this is a top legislative priority for us. This is a top priority to protect the personal information of consumers. And it's something that's only come out in the last few years because consumers have started caring about this ever since, Zuckerberg did his thing. So other reasons for caring, I know some people are willing or interested to roll the dice on fines and lawsuits, which is, that's your choice. But there are some very interesting studies that have come out lately about privacy and why people should care about this. So a study by Cisco found that 70% of organizations say that they have received significant business benefits from privacy. A study by Amnesty International found that privacy concerns are having a major impact on people's online behavior. So people won't use certain platforms if they feel like their privacy is not being respected on those platforms. And then a different study by Cisco found that privacy concerns can slow down the sales cycle by an average of 7.8 weeks, which can really be impactful to a small business. I think also as humans, we can really kind of resonate with this topic. I once signed up for a conference, not this one, and they asked me to put in my phone number, and roughly 20 minutes later got a text from AT&T saying, here's our marketing stuff, and I can tell that, right? Like, I know that you sold my information very quickly because it was clear. I gave my phone number, and then my information was sold. And people don't like that. I don't like that. So I think caring about privacy and having privacy as a fundamental human right is just really the right thing to do. So lastly, why should you be the ones to talk to your clients about privacy? Why do you care? Why is this your problem? Depending on your client's level of sophistication, they might be looking to you for a good website. They might be looking to you to show them how to open up their email. They see you as their internet Sherpa almost, right? You tell them what the internet is about. You tell them how to use it. You tell them how to take advantage of it for their own benefit. And really that places you in a very special position where you can tell them these things and you can tell them, hey, this is why this is important. This is why you need this. This is what happens if you don't. Now, speaking to your clients about privacy, even if you're not an expert on this topic, but at least telling them, hey, you're collecting PII, you have a contact form, you should look into getting a privacy policy. That can make you look proactive and professional. That can help you stand above the competition who does not know about these industry trends or are not aware of it. They can improve client retention and loyalty and can help document and protect your agency. Now, protecting your own agency, again, as you know, people are very sue happy here. If something does happen to one of your clients and they get fined, the first question they're going to ask is, why didn't you tell me this? Because, I'm not a professional business owner, I don't know. So, even if they don't ask you about privacy and whether or not they need a privacy policy, having it documented in a written format saying, okay, I told you about this, can really help protect your agency as well. And one of the things that I talk about a lot, before I started Termageddon, I used to work for agencies writing contracts. And your contracts need to be tight, and they need to say there is no warranty about this, there is no, we're not guaranteeing that this website's compliant with ADA, we're not guaranteeing that this website's compliant with accessibility. Having contracts with your clients is absolutely crucial in situations like this, just to make sure that this doesn't come back to you. Now, if you're looking for a good contract, I definitely recommend Ecom Legal, and please go see them and make sure that your contracts are airtight. So you're probably all sold that you need privacy policies now and that your clients need them, where to get them. There are a lot of options there, but as far as I see it, there are only two really good options. One is attorneys. So privacy attorneys can write a privacy policy for your clients. This is a great option for your clients that can afford it, or for your clients that need special compliance. So for example, if your client needs HIPAA compliance, or if your client is collecting the personal information from children under the age of 13, you need to make sure that you hire an attorney or your client hires an attorney and that they have a complete privacy policy for them. It's not cheap, but if you do need increased regulatory compliance, it's by far the best option. We also have generators. I'm kind of biased towards this one, but generators are usually faster and more cost-effective, and they can work really well for the majority of your clients. So I thought before I wrap up here, because I don't have that much time, I would answer some very common questions that I get from people, and I think we'll maybe have a few minutes for Q&A as well. One question that I get a lot is, why can't you copy and paste a template? Or copy and paste your competitors' work and hope for the best. So when you're looking at these template privacy policies, you really don't know what they say or who they're there for. So a templated privacy policy that's created for somebody who needs Nevada compliance might not be the best fit for you if you don't need that, or if you need CCPA compliance, for example. A lot of the templates, we don't know who they're written by, we don't know how up to snuff they are, they're not reviewed by anyone usually, and they don't update when the laws change. So you're kind of stuck with having to keep track of all of these laws yourself, and as that is my full-time job, I can attest that it is a full-time job. And you have to then read all of these laws and make sure that you update it. Or if you are copying and pasting a template from one of your competitors, you don't know when they're going to update it to comply with the law. So for example, CCPA went into effect January 1st. Roughly 2 months later, some very large companies updated their privacy policies. The issue with that is the enforcement date is July 1st, and the Attorney General can go back and fine you for violations that happened on January 1st. So if your competitor didn't update their template, and if you didn't pull that template at that time, you're out of compliance. And you're not sure whether or not that policy that you pulled from somebody else is compliant, which is another issue in and of itself. And then also it's copyright infringement. And another question that I get a lot too is, you know, what about small businesses? Am I too small to really care about this? You know, I'm just a one-man shop or a two-man shop or something like that. That's not what we've seen in Europe. So in Europe, we've seen, you know, 1, 2, 3-man shops get fined for non-compliance. And we've also seen companies get fined for abusing the privacy rights of one person. So you don't necessarily need to have thousands of users, thousands of customers, or thousands of employees. You know, most privacy laws will apply to companies that are as small as one person. Now, some of the proposed privacy bills do include a large business exemption. However, if you're a web designer and you're working for large companies, they could require you to comply via contract or something like that, and most of the privacy bills don't necessarily care how large your company is. So yeah, that's about it for me. I was wondering if anybody had any questions. All right, go ahead. So I think there's kind of 2 points to that question. So first, should the agency itself have a privacy policy and be concerned about, you know, these privacy laws, which the answer to that would be yes. In terms of, you know, what your client is directing you to do with data. So for example, if your client's just emailing you saying, hey, can you change this person's name in this database? That kind of goes back to contracts, right? That really goes back to what contract you have between you and your client. Because if the contract between you and your client says that you don't provide warranties, you don't provide compliance, then it's kind of up to your client to figure out what they want to do with that data. But if you don't have any of that, you could potentially be liable for that as well. So, right, and what you can do and can't do with data really depends on what laws apply to you. So if GDPR does not apply to you, you might be able to more freely control the data that you have on people. But if it does apply to you, then you are a lot more restricted. Termageddon is not a law firm. We do provide compliance guides for people whenever new laws come out that do provide some helpful guidance. But I do think, yeah, something like a privacy course would be a lot more useful in terms of what you can actually can and can't do with data. So in Termageddon, we just provide the policies. Yes. I don't think we're ever going to be providing legal advice. Yes, one more question, I think. Yes. Yeah, Florida's is a little bit light. It's a little bit lighter. But the issue with that is they all do require privacy policy changes. And, you know, the disclosures that you have to make for Florida are still pretty robust. Yes, because you are collecting personal information. So it's not, The privacy laws will start applying to you as soon as you collect that information, regardless of whether or not you share it, you sell it, or you do anything else with it. As soon as you collect that information, that's when it applies. Okay. Yes. So it really depends on your location and the level of experience that an attorney would have. I would definitely not recommend using a regular business attorney for your privacy, just because regular business attorneys that don't specialize in privacy end up not knowing the laws and the particular disclosures, so you won't get what you really need because it's a very specialized field. In Chicago, I've seen it anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000 to $10,000. So it really depends on where you're located and how much experience the person that you're working with has. Yes? So kind of twofold there as well. Your privacy policy needs to disclose what parties you disclose that data to. So for example, if I pull information out of my contact form and integrate with MailChimp and that data goes to MailChimp, I need to make sure that my privacy policy is very clear on that. Most data breach laws do not provide you with a way to contract out of that law. So if there is a data breach that you could potentially be responsible for, you would still need to disclose that to your customers. I used to do ISO 27001 compliance for a marketing company that did marketing for banks, aka junk mail, which was great. I quit. But even if you have those types of reports, even if you never have a data breach, that doesn't mean that you are not obligated to have a privacy policy or to respect people's privacy. So for example, I could have a data breach, which is obviously a privacy issue, or I could sell that personal information and not tell the consumer that I sell it. I would still be on the hook for a privacy law violation in that case. So having a certification like that is always great, and it's definitely recommended. But just because your website is secure doesn't mean that you are complying with privacy laws. Security is just a very small portion of that. All right. Go to my privacy bill tracker.
Using a generator or using a company that has the auto updates for you.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the laws, CCPA built into the requirement that you have to update your privacy policy now on at least an annual basis. It's a burden for us as agencies, but it's also a great thing for us as agency owners because we now have a reason and a benefit that we can contact our clients at least on an annual basis. Do you need help updating your privacy policy?
Right.
So, find the generators, find the privacy policies that work for you and incorporate it into your business for, getting it to your clients.
Right. We have a lot of people incorporating it into their maintenance plans and things like that too. So I'll be around after this if anybody has any questions, but thank you so much for sticking behind.
Let's give Donato a round of applause. Thank you so much. We have about 5 minutes before our next speaker, Daniel Olson's going to be talking with us about JAMstack. So hurry back. Right, if we can take our seats. We're coming into the home stretch of WordCamp Miami 2020 business track. With us next, we have Daniel Olson. He's Chief Operating Officer of Digital Cube, a company committed to supporting WordPress and its communities. He's a web developer, AWS superfan, JAMstack advocate, and design thinking enthusiast. So Daniel Olson's going to be talking with us about lift and shift WordPress to the JAMstack. If you could give a nice round of applause to welcome him to our stage.
Is this thing, oh, it is on. Okay, great. Welcome to Lift and Shift WordPress to the JAMstack. Thank you for all being here. It's late in the day. Who enjoyed their ice cream, got a little energy back. So I'm kind of curious, why are you here? I know why I'm here. But can anyone give me a hint as to why they decided to come to this talk of all the others? Any hands? All right, you. All right, so you're curious about headless. Anyone else?
I admire the static movement you're working on.
Static movement you're working on, okay.
My brother told me I should come.
Your brother's a smart man. All right, so it's good feedback for me because I can learn what resonates with you and get a temperature check because there's a lot that I can talk about, especially with JAMstack, WordPress, static. It's a very big topic, so hopefully in this very short amount of time I can narrow it down and give you some tidbits, and maybe we can talk after and you can learn a little more. So our agenda for today is who am I, what's a JAMstack, who's it for, and when can you use it, when does it apply, and I'll show you an example. So who am I think is important to this topic. So my name is Daniel Olson. I'm a JAMstack advocate, AWS superfan, as we've come to learn. I'm from Philadelphia, which says a lot about me if you know anyone from Philadelphia. And that's my dog. She's my queen. So why am I qualified to talk about this? And I think that the reason I'm qualified to talk about this has a little bit to do with my history. I'm not really an expert in many things except measuring my dog's mood. But the thing about JAMstack is a big part of my history. So does this ring a bell for anyone? Bell is pun intended. Does this date and place have any significant meaning to the WordPress community? All right, striking out. So shame on you. It was the second WordCamp US, second annual. Right? Total giveaway. Ugh. So it was only my second WordCamp too. And it was also a big day for me because it was the day I helped launch a product. So the product was called Shifter way back in 2016. To this day, I believe that Shifter is the only self-service static site generator for WordPress and hosting provider that users can immediately sign up and start experimenting with creating static WordPress sites. We're not beta, we're not invite only, we've been this since day one. We believe just kind of sharing our code, putting it out there, telling us what's broken, and we'll fix it. So this is what I've been working on for the past 4 years. And this is what has informed my knowledge of JAMstack and static WordPress, and there's a lot to learn. So you run your WordPress in a secure environment. It's accessible only to you as an admin. And then you create those static versions, which that's what your site viewers see. So there's a little bit of separation. But in that process, things break. You have to kind of build gaps and features in between. So it's been 4 years of a lot of research, trial and error, successes, failures, but mostly just a lot of learning. And creating Shifter, these were the things that we were trying to solve. Like we had a purpose. It wasn't just a technical gimmick. I'm not really into gimmicks, but we wanted to make a secure WordPress. We wanted to make it scalable. And we wanted the WordPress to perform under stress, but also make it accessible to everyone. Like I can go to any JavaScript meetup, any sort of like technical level talks and talk with these guys and gals, but the thing is you need to make it easy. You need to make it for everyone to use and get those benefits without learning how to write code. So back in 2016, it was a lonely place. There's not many people doing this, so I had to figure things out on my own. And so JAMstack, any like personal experience besides this talk? Anyone have any personal experience with the JAMstack? All right, so that's why I'm here to help. In my opinion, JAMstack and WordPress could be BFFs. So the JAMstack offers an opportunity where WordPress leaves behind. So here are some of the caveats of static WordPress. So out of the box, you lose some features like comments, search, static, e-commerce. Those things that are part of the native WordPress experience are no longer there because there is no database. So to fill those gaps, we look to the JAMstack. So I have a firm belief that the JAMstack is not about specific technologies. It is a design pattern. It says that in the jamstack.org website, which I recommend everyone go read if you're interested. But I put it in the same category of some of these other ones. So it's, you know, it's not like a hard and fast, you must do this, you must not do that. It kind of gives you a guide. So it's an approach like the well-architected framework in which AWS builds all their tools, the Toyota Way, which is a philosophy in how they build and manufacture cars. It's, you know, a framework like the Constitution. It doesn't tell you the rules. It gives you a framework to create the rules. So the most common way that people think about JAMstack is they compare it to the LAMP stack, which is fine. It's like a building block. But what does it look like? So JAMstack is, compared to WordPress is monolithic. Monolithic is not good or bad. It's just what it is, and this is what we know. To better understand what monolithic means, I think of it in terms of features. So WordPress features are tightly integrated, and some of them depend on each other, but they're all baked into core. So when you go static, you lose some of these things. JAMstack breaks them all up. So they break up the bank. It's not monolithic. You can pick and choose whatever features you want. So if we look at a typical JAMstack site, you might have a React front end. You might have a service that creates authentication for logging in your users. Let's say you run a WordPress meetup and you want to collect a $5 fee. You can add in Stripe and to process your payments. And let's say you want to have a really good search. So you kick off native WordPress search, and then you add something like Algolia. So this is the JAMstack approach where you can pick and choose. But to that degree, you can also swap out any of those at any time. You have that flexibility. But let's say you don't like React. You want to use Gatsby or Angular or Vue. Or you want to use Elasticsearch or roll your own. You can do those things. JAMstack is exhausting, right? It could be, you know, it's a big topic, and it's a lot to dig in, but I think it's best understood when you put it in context. So I'm going to break it down a little bit further. So like I said, head to the website, read all about it, but let's do a little hot take on misconceptions about static WordPress. So is static WordPress like a caching plugin? Heck no. So nope, under no circumstance is it like a caching plugin, and this is why. So caching can be invalidated. Invalid cache is not cache. You're hitting a server. But static is always static. Static can also be cached, right? So yeah, nice static caching, or nice caching plugin, but I'm gonna break it. I promise you, I will break it. So static is forever, but can it also be headless? Yeah, it can be headless too. So what does it look like in practice? WordPress offers comments, search, e-commerce, all this fun stuff. You go static, you lose it. One of the things I'm obsessed with is search. So I'm going to show you how I did search, not using any third-party services, but using a plugin that I created. So this is a plugin called WP Serverless Search. It was created for Shifter, but I wanted to design it in a way that any WordPress site could use it. So it works with native WordPress sites. You could use it today. It's free. It's open source. It's on GitHub. Check it out. If you take a pic of that, it'll bring you right to the page. So let's do a little demo, because I got 2 minutes left. All right. So this theme might look familiar to some people. This is running on my local machine, but I'll tweet a link up. All these slides are available on my Twitter, by the way, if you want to follow along. So let's look at the native WordPress search experience. Who's a big movie buff? Give me a movie title. Hopefully it's in my database of 30,000 movie titles that exist. Gone with the Wind. You guys didn't expect that, did you? Ah. Gone with the Wind. All right. Well. Oh, it's in there. Awesome. Cool. But let's back it up for a sec. Let's do it what I was going to type the first time. Does anyone know what's going to happen? Boo, right? Boo, WordPress native search, boo. All right, let's take the JAMstack approach. So this plugin does not require a database. It never hits the database under any circumstance. What happens is it will create a static file of all of your posts, and it will use a JavaScript library called Flex Search to query against that file. And it supports fuzzy search, and it's fast. There we go. Wind. All right. So this is a regular WordPress site, and this is a demo I built. But let's say you had 50 people on your website. What if you had 5,000 people on your website? What if you were running like a $5 budget host? Your database of 30,000 movies is not going to hold up. I promise you that. But if you move to static and you're hosting and building your applications in this way, you can get a lot more performance at lower cost, lower compute power, and better user experience. So it's all about the experience and the outcome. It doesn't matter about the technology. I could have built this plugin in 10 different ways, but I built it in this one particular way because the solution or the outcome that I wanted was, I want to create a good search experience. I want it to be flexible. I want it to work in a static environment, but I also want it to work for everyone else. So that's it. And questions?
We don't actually have time for questions right now, unfortunately, because no, hold on, give me a second, guys. Don't boo me off the stage quite yet. We have Ask the Experts Everything panel. I designed the day to have the lightning talks to get through the information, and then all questions right after our next speaker. So if you're willing to stick around, we'd love to ask you questions and learn more about JAMstack.
I'll be here all day.
All right, fantastic.
So, awesome. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Daniel Olson. Next up, we have Cindy BECKLES. She's going to come get set up. But just to remind you all, after the business track is done, we have game show and closing remarks at 5 p.m. at CBC 155. Please do give feedback at mytalk.rocks for Daniel's talk. Speakers definitely appreciate your feedback and any photos you may have taken. And I think that's about it. Just make sure you're hashtagging WCMIA, and we'll get our next speaker set up right now. Actually, take a question. I yanked that mic so hard, and now it's like, no.
Questions? Go ahead. It is not on the directory, but it will be on the directory. I did create another, so in that slide, there was a few other plugins I did create. One was called WP Serverless Forms, which is built on the same principles. So I'm just applying the approach to how to build those solutions. That one's there. I rebuilt this one several hours ago. So I'm gonna, polish it, and then I'll submit it to the directory. But I'm excited to do that. So, any other questions?
How would, for example, e-commerce or forms work on a static environment?
So we don't have a solution for static sites yet, but I do have a roadmap for that. And what I want to do is, for example, WooCommerce, you could use the Stripe API. So when you hit that Add to Cart button with WooCommerce site, it uses AJAX and makes a call to PHP. That doesn't exist. So what you can do is use a little JavaScript and actually look for those Add to Cart buttons that WooCommerce has. It's standard data. And you could swap out those URLs with something that Stripe can handle. So clicking that Add to Cart actually adds it to a Stripe checkout cart, not the WooCommerce checkout cart. But you can build and create your store using WooCommerce. Once it goes static, it's just basically a catalog builder at that point.
So Daniel, like I said, he promises that he's not going anywhere and he'll take questions and a few. We are saving the best for last, as it were. We have an amazing lightning talk for you on how to plan a great event. We have Cindy BECKLES here with an MBA and DTM. She's an award-winning marketing and event management professional with over 23 years of experience. Okay.
I want to make sure you all get the handouts first.
And this is attention to detail in planning a great event, is sometimes making sure things go off without a hitch. So we'll get those handouts to you and we'll get started shortly. This was a long list of an accomplished background. So, 23 years of experience encompassing product management, public relations, and competitive analysis. She has a BS, a Bachelor of Science in Hotel Administration from Cornell University, with an MBA or a Master's of Business Administration from Clark, Atlanta. Cynthia currently works as a marketing consultant. She's a proud 18-year Toastmasters veteran and is currently the co-chair of their Distinguished Toastmaster program. In addition, she's a member of the Wellington Chamber of Commerce Small Business Committee for over 9 years and co-chair for 2. She has done marketing PR for Riverwalk Toastmasters, Blimpie International, Tyson's Food, the Wellington Chamber of Commerce, CAF CI Association, and many other government agencies and businesses. She enjoys spending time with her family as well as giving back to the community, and she's going to talk to us lightning speed on how to plan a great event.
Good afternoon, WordCamp. Good afternoon. We've been enjoying a state-of-the-art event here at WordCamp for 3 days. It's a wonderful thing. You can get used to that. You have great speakers, great food, get great sponsors, great opportunities to connect. But what are you going to do after this? I say create your own event. What I want to say to you is in 2004, I love event management so much that I quit because it was so much work. But since then, I've discovered a 3-step process which has made a difference. I've won some awards since then. So I wanted to share those 3 steps with you today. First of all, if I'm in marketing, I have to say to you this. No matter what you do, I think sometimes if it's just an event where you're bringing water and cookies, it's really simple. But as they say in Staples, there is no easy button. This event represents you. There's no greater way to promote yourself as an influencer than to have your own event. Why wait for WordCamp? Why not create your own? So if you can see out on the handout right there, this 3-step process is plan, probe, and promote. The idea too in marketing, sometimes you see people want to copy what people do. Whatever you might see as at an event, take that information and make it your own. So everything you do, make it your own. First of all, plan. Time is your greatest asset. Believe it or not, to plan a great event, it takes about 3 to 6 months. You have 2 schedules. One schedule is, how am I going to do the event? The second one is the day of the event. How are you going to, it's called run of show. Either way, be realistic. One time I had an event where we had 100 people, and this person swore up and down they'd be able to go through the line in 30 minutes, and the event was 2.5 hours. However, it took 1.5 hours just for them to get through the buffet. How many people know that spoiled the event? We could have prevented that. So if you make a realistic timeline for the day of the event, it's an important thing. The other thing I start doing from day one, I start making a list. What am I going to need the day of the event to bring with me or put in my car or whatever? You don't want to be running around the day of the event. You want to make sure you get there early and you're highly organized. Make sure you keep records. It's amazing to me when I go to people and they say, oh, we think we had 20. No, somebody says 50. You should keep your own stats and do debriefing after and keep it together so the next time you do the same event, you can do it that much better. The next thing, use Eventbrite or event management software. Eventbrite will help you promote it, and it keeps all of the people who have attended your event or eventful. I can't tell you, I think I break out in hives when it says something like, call me, like from Blondie. Call me if you want to attend the event. Call me if you... It's the modern day. Use Eventbrite. They even give you something where when people register, they get a nice confirmation. So use Eventbrite for your events. The next thing is to probe. I had an individual, a young lady, she says, oh, I don't ask anybody at my events. I just tell them what I want. Everything is what I want. I don't do surveys. How many think her business went down? A lot. Not only do you need to probe, you need to be open to what people have to say. So probing means you do your research, internal and external events, see what's going on. I had another friend, she said, first week of February, I'm going to have an event on a Sunday evening, but Cindy, she says, nobody is signing up. I said, I'm sorry, it's the Super Bowl. Oh, I didn't know. Seriously, she didn't do her homework. Do your homework, pick 3 dates. No one usually takes the time until they have the event. They're like, wow, I didn't know all this stuff was coming up. So do your homework first. And then secondly, make sure you do a survey so you can find out what people want. Do a written survey there. I know people can send out SurveyMonkey, but trust me, the handwritten survey where they can fill in their information is just as good, and you're going to get a higher return rate. I wanted to say to you, I'm pretty much a junk person. This is a program that I went to in 2014. This is a direct bill I have, and these are some other programs I have. Even WordCamp, I collect them, because when you start doing your events, and we're going to talk now about promotions, programs from past events are invaluable. They have speakers. Sometimes, I don't know who the sponsors could be. Hello, sponsors in here. So use these programs. I know what you could do. Perhaps you could scan them in. It's up to you. But remember, these are important to you. So now we're going to go on and talk about promotions. The first thing you need to do is develop a promotional calendar. When are you going to do your PR? When are you going to send out? Make sure that the speakers are there. All of these things are on your promotional calendar. When are you going to start your social media? Now, the next thing I have there is a 3-tier pricing. You have early bird, regular, and late. If you don't give a prize for early bird, I've seen a difference. It could be a gift certificate for $25. People will break their backs. One day, I had one person before early bird ended. By the next time early bird was over, I had 49 more people. Just to save $5, but whatever it is, I didn't have to wonder if I was going to have 50 people at my event because I got that right away. So make sure you have the 3-tier, early, regular, and late, and offer a prize. The next thing to do under promotional is the integrated marketing approach. It's not traditional. It's not, I only do social media, you do it all. This is something I got in the mail, 8.5 by 11, very colorful, caught my attention. Newspapers. How many of you know that just about every television station, radio station, newspaper, they all have a community section where you can add an event? Has anybody ever done that? What I'm waiting for is an easy button where what you do the event one time and then you hit it. They don't see my vision yet. They don't see the vision yet. So you have to sit there. What I suggest, you have all your answers on Word and you just cut and paste. So let's say you want to do Palm Beach Post. You go there and say add an event. They'll say when is the date, so you have to add the date. Give me a description. You have to add a description. But every single paper pretty much has that, add an event. So these are things you need to keep in mind. The final thing is it's really critical that you have more than one flyer. I think it's crazy to just have one. You could have one that says save the date when you don't know. As long as you know the date and time, we're good. Save the date because people are busy today. And then the next one is when you do your regular registration, and then for that big push, when you know the speaker, details, and all that, you do a final flyer. Also with promotional, there's nothing wrong with doing video. But what I'm interested in seeing on the web is to see how they're going to use TikTok, which is a new website that people are using, to see how that's going to emerge as something they can use for events. How many people in here use Facebook ads? Facebook ads are also very good. But you need to do newspaper, the submit event. You need to also do social media, and you need to do the traditional. And don't forget this. I've gotten some things in the mail lately, grabs my attention. Let me see if there's any. So at this point, just about anything you want people to do, you can give them a gift for, and you start getting them understanding what you like at your event. So what I did, I really like when the first 3 people come into the room and they get things going. So what you could say is the first 100 people that come to the event will get this item. So today there were 3 people that signed this sheet, and that's what I said. So these 3 people who, because I couldn't see who was here first. So with Will, it's Q-U-Y-N-H, and Josie, are they here? Stand up. No? All right, what we're gonna do, the first person over here, sir, can you give me the 3 Ps? No, nothing. We're gonna do it quickly, the 3 Ps. 3 Ps? There you go, gift for you. Sir, the next, actually, ma'am, I'll ask you, why should you, you're welcome, why should you have more than 1 flyer? No, but why? My friend right behind, why should you have 3 flyers? At least more than 1? No. No, I'm gonna come back. There you go, that was, there you go. Oh, come on up, if you could give that, come on up. Thanks. Let's see if we come up with some more questions. See, that makes the event more interesting. Also, we gave out this program. Someone should have a gold seal on the back of their program, and they're going to get a $10 gift certificate to JCPenney's. Look on the back. Does anybody have the gold seal? You got it. There you go. Congratulations. Let's see. I had, as I said, there was a person who didn't want to do surveys, and they wanted everything to be about them. Why did I say that was a problem? In the back. Yep, perfect. Come on down. I'll be Bob Barker. Come on down. Oh, she'll take it to you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. And this is going to be the final question. I want somebody to tell me the 3 Ps, but tell me how you're going to do your next event differently because of it, and I will give you the mic. Another $10 gift certificate. Who would like to come on down? Who's the brave soul? I'm just overwhelmed. Come on down. Somebody who hasn't picked anything. Okay. Anyone else? The challenge is, tell me how you're going to use the 3 Ps I told you to make your next event better. So you have, yeah, you can come. So you have to know the 3 Ps. Come on down.
Yeah, you have to come down. He's going to stay here anyway because he's going to be answering questions right after you. So we're just here's the mic.
My next event, I'm going to do the 3 Ps. I'm going to plan, promote, and probe, but I'm going to plan, which is something that I never do, which is to look and do my research, get some brochures, talk to people, see what else is out there, go to events, take notes, and then I'm going to promote by creating a landing page. I'm going to put it on Eventbrite, going to link the landing page to Eventbrite, and I'm also going to create a Facebook ad, because Facebook ads are so good. And then I'm going to probe. I'm going to really dig deep. I'm going to get that feedback. I want to ask people how they're feeling in the coffee line. I'm going to ask speakers in the moments they least expect really tough questions. And I'm going to document everything.
Yeah! Go-to.
I just wanted you, thank you. I wanted to use this time now for Q&A. Did anyone have a question? No question.
And it's actually open Q&A for everyone.
Everyone.
So Daniel, if you can come back to the stage, we've got Donata coming back, we've got Scott. Before we have everyone, let's give Cindy a huge round of applause.
Thank you.
And does anyone have questions for any, no, come on down, Daniel. This is open Q&A, end of the day. What questions do you have remaining that have not been answered for you yet at business? Ask us anything. Challenge us. We've got a question right here. And you can... Okay, yes.
I'm a designer who works on events with people organizing them, like and they often start off with a pre-sale package, where basically you approach potential advertisers and sponsors with packages of money, getting money from them. And should that be part of your plan too, to always get sponsorship? I don't know how you put this.
Well, I'm actually in-kind donations expert, so it's always part of mine. There's just so much I could say today. But yes, sponsors. But when you are like giving them to the sponsors, and you give that, the reason I do that is because some of the, I know you're all ITs, we have different levels of companies, but whenever you do it, make sure they understand why yours is the most important and how it will help them. A lot of times people will just drop it off, but they don't take the time to find out how we can connect and how the sponsorship will help. And more than anything, show them how they're going to benefit. So they can give it to you, but I bet you there are a ton of people that just put it aside and wouldn't go out and promote it. So whether it's your business or you're doing it for someone else, make the connection so you can make the sale.
You may remember all of us from earlier today, but Scott Mann has also joined us. He's the owner of High Forge. He spoke with the business track yesterday about remote work, and he's based out of Orlando, huge supporter of WordCamp Miami. So any business-related questions, marketing, anything. Yes, I'm actually going to do the running for the mic because we need to get these questions captured for our live stream.
Thank you. So my question would be relating to the privacy policies. So the question is, if you're a business, you're collecting email addresses, and that's your database for marketing and so on, and you're planning to sell the business or go through a merger, is this something that, do you have to have the infrastructure in place in the agreement before you set it up to do that, or is that something that you can fix afterwards? And like, what's the process with that? That's your question.
A couple questions rolled into one. The first aspect, I think, is data protection policies as it relates to a merger. If one company is, merging their data with another. You have a mic up there, Donata?
Yes.
Oh, well, Donata's our privacy
yeah.
privacy attorney from Termageddon that works with us on a daily basis. So I'm going to let you take the first crack at this one.
I think it really depends on what you're selling. So some companies will purchase the assets only. So you could be selling your employees' contracts and not your actual consumer data. You could also be selling just the contracts of the people that you're working on. So for example, if you're a web designer and you have a project to build a website for a church, a supermarket, and a flower shop, you could just be selling those contracts and not the actual data of consumers that you've collected. As an agency, your contract should always have an assignment clause, which means that if you sell the business, you can assign it to the person who purchased your business, and I'm sure Ryan can speak more on that. In terms of like the privacy policies themselves, they should disclose who you're going to disclose that data to. So if you do anticipate a sale in your future, you should make sure that your privacy policy includes that, because under certain laws, if it doesn't already include that when the consumer gave you their consent, the purchasing company would probably not be able to get their hands on that data. Or they would have to contact that consumer to get their consent, which is an issue because if they can't contact them in the first place, they can't get their consent. So it really depends on what you're selling.
What other questions do we have? Woo! I don't have my Fitbit thing, so I get to track it.
This is for each of you guys, and it's somewhat of a general question, but I always like to learn from other people's mistakes. What's been one of your biggest challenges or mistakes that you've faced in running your business or your organization, and how have you addressed them?
That's a great question. No one wants to be the first one to talk about mistakes.
I am not afraid to talk about mistakes. I have so many of them. Let's start with the first mistake, starting an agency. Anybody? I'm going to talk about the most recent one. The most recent one was I built an agency. It became more successful than I ever thought it would, especially for a kid who grew up in rural St. Cloud in a trailer on a dirt road. Working in a corner office in downtown Orlando overlooking the lake was like, you know, a country kid's dream come true. But the reality is running that team of about 15 people was not what I signed up to do. I signed up to help clients. I signed up to build cool things. I signed up to be creative. I signed up to work on the internet and do cool stuff. Instead, I was babysitting a team of people who were constantly making mistakes all day long. I was an HR person. I was a salesperson trying to close sales out in the field. I was trying to do business development. I was a fake lawyer trying to figure out how to build contracts. I had like 1,000 jobs, and the reality was I burned out hard. I burned out so hard, hard enough that it almost cost me my life. And the way that I fixed it was I came back out of the depths of the water, and I knew that I needed freedom and flexibility to get my life back. And so I transitioned away from being a traditional agency to being a completely distributed agency with not a lot of employees, but instead a ton of awesome partners from people that I've met around this community. And so now I don't have to do anything anymore. I just have to work with awesome, awesome people, and only when the clients want the work done. So yeah, that's how I fixed the biggest, most accidental mistake I've ever made in my life. Yeah.
I recently wrote an article for the Wellington Chamber of Commerce about how to do a marketing audit. It was well received, but I didn't realize once I did it, I just did it to provide information that people were coming and they wanted me to do it. How I did not realize that there were some people, for example, who said, we just want you to do the audit and not actually do the implementation. And I should have thought about that before I did it. It's, sometimes you just go out and do something, but make sure you have a plan in place when you go out promoting something, and actually it was just for knowledge. And then secondly, I now have it priced, because to me, if you do all the work of discovering what needs to be done, you have to make sure you get the implementation. So I have a package now where it doesn't make sense to go to someone else, because somebody said that to me, I just want you to do the audit and I'm going to give it to such and such agency to implement. I now have a pricing structure in place. If they want to do it, it makes no sense to go somewhere else. But I should have thought about that before I wrote the article and have that in place.
Yeah, that's awesome. The biggest thing that I've learned from all the mistakes that I've made, and I've made many, is that I bite off more than I can chew. I try to accomplish too much, and that's actually not the important thing. The important thing is to understand why I put myself in those situations and how much of a struggle it is to get out, because the thing that I realize is that knowledge is power, and I love to work hard. I work a lot. But the things that I don't follow through on, those projects I don't complete, they're ones that I have knowledge gaps in. And I don't ask questions. I don't ask people for help enough. I don't do the research enough. I don't spend enough time learning those particular things that are holding me back from completing those tasks. So the thing that I've learned is that if I'm going to start something and I find it frustrating or confusing or I'm lost, it's just to take my time and do more research. I think that no matter how knowledgeable you are or knowledgeable I am, I'm always on the side of ignorance. There's always more to learn. And I say that in the best way possible, because it means that there's more opportunity. How do I build something better? How do I improve it in this way? How do I learn from that mistake? So that's the biggest thing I've learned recently, is that sometimes things are difficult, but maybe I just need to, educate myself and to get myself out of that hole. And then so far it's been working out.
I totally want I don't make mistakes.
I was gonna say working with Hans, but
No, he's amazing. They're getting married if you guys don't know, so like, they're joking.
yeah, I have rights to just, but yeah, I think for me, it was not listening to my gut. So, a few years ago, I contracted with somebody that I thought was not fully experienced to perform the work, and I thought, I was told that they were, and after the work was performed, I was seeing like all these bugs and stuff, and I was being told that I'm the idiot and I'm not using it correctly, and that's why it's a mess. So, and I kind of had a small inkling in my own mind that, maybe this is somebody that I shouldn't work with. But then I was like, whatever, it'll be fine. Definitely will not make that mistake again. So I would say that, if you have a weird feeling about somebody, or, if you feel like maybe they're not as experienced as they're saying they are, or even if, they're saying, oh, I won't sign a contract, red flag. And, so I definitely won't be doing that again. And years ago, I worked at an agency in Chicago. And we had two owners, one of which was absolutely insane, and the other one didn't want to leave his house. And I thought that I was going to fix everyone, and they're going to become sociable and nice and do their work just because I'm around. No, not the case. So I definitely would say, trust your gut, and don't feel like you can or need to fix anybody if you're in a situation that you're not happy with. Or if you feel like maybe I'm making the wrong decision here, you might be, and there's no shame in walking away.
So mine is very recent. You guys have, I've spoken at WordCamp Miami for the past 3 years in a row, and at various times I've, talked to you guys about Ecom Legal and trying to get the contract packages that the community needs or wants for freelancers and agencies and things like that. And I've never wanted anything more in my life. I don't know if you guys can relate to this or not. Like, I've been really incredibly excited about getting this website and getting this business ready to go in a way that I've also simultaneously been paralyzed to actually take action and do what needs to be done. I'm an attorney, I have contracts, but I'm also director of operations at a digital agency. I know what goes into building a website. I know how project management works for everyone else. And I couldn't put my collateral together. And I couldn't, the day before launch, I'm, revising the logo, and I am my own nightmare client in this situation. And it's been I'm actually trying not to cry while on stage. It's been a really emotional, what is this? And really the personal journey with it, because I'm an accomplishment-oriented person. Everything else, I set a goal and I do it, but this has just been, it is so personal. It's beta, it's not perfect, it's live and it's up, but it's not everything that I want it to be. And it's been interesting because I have such incredible clients in this space that have success, that I look up to, Scott and Kim Lapari at Valet, and she's like, what you're talking about is a 5-year project, that you don't launch with that, you just, put something, so that's my mistake. And I've also realized that, like Daniel was saying, the not asking for help part. My site is live not because I put it together, because I did everything I needed to do. It's put together because I work with a team of people that pushed it across the finish line, even though I was kicking and screaming the whole way, can I get you the content by 9 a.m.? It's 8:55 and I'm uploading, and they're like, oh. So yeah, ask for help and talk to people in this community. We all, to some extent, I think every successful leader, and you do Toastmasters, it's hard. We have insecurities, we have fears, and we think we're not good enough, we're not doing enough, we're not accomplishing enough, but talking to other people to find out that we all feel this way really helps. So, next question.
Thank you. It's Sebastian from WordProof, and I really love how this panel answers the questions to all of them. So I have one more question for all of you. what's your, as we just entered a new decade, what's your big, hairy, outrageous goal for 2030? Or for the coming, for this decade. So what will your lightning talk about on WordCamp Miami 2030?
Well, since I just went through that long soliloquy, getting Donata and I to actually have our privacy training for agencies is next on my to-do.
So personally, my hope is, yes, the privacy training, but also, you know, there are consumer groups that review privacy policies and terms for how easy they are to understand and how quick they are to read and how usable they are. My hope is to submit our policies to one of those groups and get feedback and get it to a point where, you know, it's an A+ from a consumer standpoint.
I don't know if I need 10 years to do this. I feel like I can do it in less. But, you know, I grew up with, you know, learning, like, leave no trace. Like, you go camping, you leave no trace. You go use this room because someone let you use it, leave no trace. You always clean up after yourself. And there's, like, the greater idea of that is, you know, becoming carbon neutral, helping the environment. And I realized that I can do that. Like, that's something that's within my power. I can't not produce waste. Like, it's a part of living, but I can do things that help offset it. So it's something that I you know, was talking to my wife about this, and like, I take my dog for a walk every day. I go out to the park all the time. Why have I never just planted a tree? Like, that gives me a little bit of carbon credit, and it also plants a tree. I love trees. I love hanging out with my dog. You know, so these are kind of, I want to incorporate things that are more positive to the greater community in the daily habits that I do. And I want them to be part of my life, not be like an extra thing. So that's what I'm kind of going to try to do in the next 10 years.
I think those are fantastic answers. But the reality is in 10 years, I think we're all going to be uploaded to the singularity. So things are going to be interesting. Yeah, right. That's perfect carbon neutral scenario. I have a couple things. I mean, the things that I really wanted to do in my life and in my business, the main things have already been accomplished, like working nights and weekends. I don't do that anymore. Like being able to travel and work while traveling, not being attached to a physical location anymore. So now that I can read a book written by an author from that country in every country in the world over this next 10 years, perhaps. I think that's the main game. And then for kind of the more legacy aspect, while I want my passport stamped a lot, my home is Orlando, my home is Central Florida, my home is Florida. It's this community. And I want to make sure that I find a way to help every nonprofit that's doing something for good in the world that is small and struggling, not the nonprofits that are already getting millions in donations. So I've made it a mission to do a significant amount of pro bono work every year for the local community nonprofits to help them grow and make change. And the reality is Florida itself, from a population standpoint, is one of the largest GDPs in the entire world. Like, this is ground zero for changing the world. We have that capability. So let's all take a deep breath. Even for those of you who have traveled from outside of Florida, I mean, we live in a country full of privilege, and it is our privilege to make this world a better place by working really, really hard and really, really selflessly, I think. So, yeah.
Prior to addressing that question, I just wanted to close out my talk, and then I will address the question. Whenever you do an event, you should have a backup plan, and I am the backup plan for WordCamp. I didn't know I was going to speak until Friday. So I really appreciate the opportunity. My friend has a plan B for everything on her event, and it really, really works. If somebody doesn't show up, what are we going to do? And I wanted to thank my friend Anita, who spoke yesterday, who helped encourage me, because I thought I was just coming, and they said, no, you're a client. We're going to put you on the stage. I was like, what? And I want to also thank my mom and sister, who have been so incredibly supportive for me throughout all of this. And finally, if you do have the flyouts, I do have resources on there, checklists. If there's anyone in here who wants to get that flyer, that's fine as well. So going to 2030, ever since I went to, they call it the Best Marketing Conference, and it's in St. Louis. I don't know how they got that URL. I'm so jealous. But I'm fascinated with artificial intelligence. I would love to have a conference where at least 50% of everything is planned by artificial intelligence and tell the world about how we've made a difference, transferred over from how marketing was, a whole 10 years ago to 2030. I think that that's something underestimated in the world of marketing right now. It may cost some of us our jobs, but it's going to make a brighter future. So that's what I'm fascinating with, having an event, artificial intelligence, and just really shining a spotlight on artificial intelligence in marketing.
So the thing that I'm working on right now, I'm vice chair of the American Bar Association's open source committee, and so I always joke, like, with the tech community, I'm the law nerd, and with the law nerd, with the attorneys, I'm the tech nerd. So I took that position to try to bridge the gap, and I've pitched to the lawyers at the ABA trying to get Matt Mullenweg and or Dries, trying to get some of the leaders in open source to talk to the attorneys, because attorneys don't know how to necessarily draft great licensing, relying on GPL and the underlying, but to open that conversation and a dialogue, not to put him on the spot, like to, not an interrogation, that's not what we're going for, but a conversation to better inform attorneys as to what open source and WordPress are, and how they can draft better contracts for all of us to protect our rights as, agency owners. So I would love to get that done this year. That's my big goal. Let's see what I can do.
Hi. When you have an idea for a new business, what are some things that can be done by, without spending like a ton of money, to gauge whether or not you're going to have an audience for, an educational event, or if you're going to have buyers for a new service? Like, how can you gauge whether or not you're going to have any interest in this new business?
Who wants to take this question? Anyone? Sweet.
I have no shortage of dumb ideas. So the way that I vet these ideas is I ask my toughest critics. So it's usually my friends who I know are hard to win over, skeptics, things that, or people, I ask them things, like these business ideas, where they will go wrong. I focus entirely on the negative in the beginning. And then I try to find compelling arguments to win them over. And there's, I've done this for a couple different things, and it helps me a lot because, for one, sometimes it changes the business model. You went in knowing that you wanted to do one thing, but after you get feedback, really great feedback from a number of people, you realize that there's actually a different opportunity within the same space, so you can refine it. Or even changing your messaging. So the way that you talk about something, or the delivery, or how you frame it, could be changed based on that feedback. That's I think, the most helpful thing I've gotten when I have dumb ideas.
I think that's an awesome place to start, really digging into your personal network, and because those people will be honest with you, so that's great. Another thing that I would add on to that is to create, there's a number of different services out there that will allow you to create a free one-page website, like in minutes. And you can create like an email sign-up form. Just do your 1 or 2 second pitch of whatever your idea is and say, if you're interested, sign up here. We won't use your information for anything other than to talk about this idea. And then go on your social media, go to all of these events, and get people to go and sign up for that thing if they're interested. If you are doing an elevator pitch for this thing to 100 people and they all know to go to the thing, and one person signs up, you might need to work on your idea. But if 50 of those people sign up, or 25 of those people sign up, then you're onto something. It's time to start considering investing, register that fictitious name, register a real domain name, open a business bank account, get that thing going.
Was one of your questions how many people would show up for an event? Was that your question? Okay, for an event, I suggest that you go out and see if there's anything similar like that. Go to the Chamber of Commerce. I have seen people like our Chamber of Commerce, Wellington, the person's been there 16 years. So many times people have come through and they've done all these events. That's a good place to start. Give yourself maybe 6 months or a year that you're gonna see how this works, and start doing strategic research. Even if you go online and you find somebody else that might have done it in, let's say, California, you can talk to them. It's a process. As you go along, you're gonna see if this is gonna work. I love when people say, well, one person told me it didn't work. Statistically, it's 30. If one, or as soon as they get that one person who tells them what they wanna hear, they shut it down. Or they're on their cloud 9. That's not research. Research, 30 people, go out and some of it's trial. Do your first event. 5 people come out, what did you like? Maybe you need to do more social media. So the basic thing is you have to start somewhere, but give yourself a realistic time frame. But go out there and talk to people who have done it, and like I said, find a way to make it your own. But you're not gonna know just from asking one person is what I'm saying. Does that help?
My mom was in sales, and she, anything she decided she was going to sell, she was very good at it. So she did Mary Kay and got the car in 3 months, and her mantra was always, it takes 10 no's to get a yes. So anytime someone told her no, she was like, great, I'm that much closer to, my next success story. So I thought that positive framing helped. Also, yesterday during the business track, we had Jean do a lightning talk, and he was talking about content creation and how to gauge things. And one of the tools that he had on his slide deck was Ask the Public. So I don't know if it's askthepublic.com askthepublic.com. So you can see what other people are searching, what questions they're asking. So how do I make my bed in the morning? Is this something that's, is that a great event to plan? So I would think that would be a nice, interesting way to see what people are interested in before you even start the event planning as well.
Hans and I, my fiance, have a lot of crazy ideas at all times, most of which don't make any sense. So whenever we have an idea that we think makes sense, we bring out this book called Business Plans That Work. And it's a pretty short, condensed version of how to write a business plan. So we write the business plan for it, and by the time we get through the financials, we realize that this was a stupid idea. And if you can get through the whole Business Plans That Work and write the entire business plan, and the financials make sense, and the ideas make sense, and the competitor landscape makes sense, you're onto something better than what we've been onto. In terms of how we started and how we decided that we're going to move forward with Termageddon is we ran Facebook ads. And we ran those ads at a very small cost, and we just saw how many people were interested and how many people signed up for our newsletter, and that gave us a really good indication of whether or not our market was interested in this. If you're planning an event as well, I plan a lot of events for the International Association of Privacy Professionals. And one of the things that we see a lot is we see other groups that are similar to ours but not the same. So for example, the Association of Corporate Counsel telling us we want to do an event together. And that's a great way to get an event going, is if you partner with another nonprofit or another company that wants to do something similar as you, but they have a slightly different audience, but their audience might be interested in what you're doing. That's a great way to get people to sign up, because they usually send out an email to their list, and maybe they'll run advertisements. So you can partner with somebody so that your cost is significantly lower and your exposure is significantly higher.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Do we have other questions? All right. If there are no further questions, as I told you guys, we're doing our end of WordCamp wrap-up at 5 p.m. in CBC 155. It's game shows. If you entered for any of our sponsors' giveaways, that's your time to win. And please, 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 like I said, mytalk.rocks. It's the best way to help our speakers, learn what value, if any. No, I'm kidding. We know you guys got value. What value, what you appreciated, the tidbits, and share your photos. We appreciate you. We couldn't do it without you. Thank our speakers for their volunteer. And let's go win some prizes.